Tonight, we're exploring the complete story of every legendary group in Pokémon. Birds, beasts, gods, and more. I know this is a fascinating topic, but don't worry. I'll keep my narration calm to ensure you can still drift off. Thank you to those of you who've been joining us consistently. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here. And if this is your first night, just comment day 1. Now let's get back to the video. In the beginning, there was only a swirling void of chaos, a formless expanse where time and space had no meaning and the laws of reality had yet to be written. Into this nothingness, a single egg hatched, and from it emerged the original one. With 1,000 arms, this being shaped the universe, sparking the first light in the darkness and carving the foundations of the world we know today. But the story of the Pokémon world is not merely the story of its creator. It is a vast, interconnected tapestry woven by the wings of ancient birds, the heavy footsteps of giants carved from the earth, and the silent watchers who guard the very fabric of our emotions and willpower. These are the legendaries. They are more than just powerful creatures. They are the living embodiments of nature, the architects of the continents, and the guardians of the cosmic balance. They are the myths that parents whisper to their children at night, the shadows seen in the eye of a hurricane, and the statues that wait in silent sunken temples for a hero worthy enough to wake them. For decades, we have journeyed through regions like Kanto, Johto, Sinnoh, here and beyond, catching glimpses of these titans. We have climbed the highest peaks of the Crown Tundra and dived into the deepest trenches of the Hoenn Seas. Yet how much do we truly know about the forces that govern this world? Why did 3 nameless Pokémon have to perish in a burning tower before they could become the legendary beasts of Johto? What ancient fear drove a civilization to seal the ragey giants behind puzzles of braille and stone, hoping they would never again see the light of day? And what happens when the very gods of time and space are pulled from their dimensions by the greed of man? Tonight, we are stepping away from the tall grass and the gym battles to look at the grand design. We are going to explore the complete history and lore of every legendary group that has ever graced the Pokémon world. From the elemental harmony of the Kanto birds to the tragic misunderstood history of Ogrepon and the Loyal 3, we will uncover the secrets hidden in ancient ruins and the truth behind the myths. We will witness the clashing of primal titans that reshaped the oceans and the quiet grace of the lake guardians who gave humanity the gifts of knowledge, emotion, and spirit. This is not just a list of statistics or a guide on where to find them. This is a journey through the ages. We will examine the Arthurian legends that birthed the heroes of Galar and the celestial hierarchy that places Arceus at the center of all things. We will look at how these groups represent the fundamental forces of our reality, the weather that sustains us, the justice that protects us, and the nature that surrounds us. Whether they are roaming the land as shadows in the mist or slumbering in a pocket dimension, waiting for the call of a flute, these legendary groups are the pillars upon which the entire Pokémon universe rests. So settle in and let the world outside fade away. Whether you are looking to master the deep history of your favourite region, or simply looking for a peaceful journey through the myths of a world built on wonder, you are in the right place. The campfire is lit, the ancient scrolls are unfurled, and the stars are aligning. It is time to tell the story of the birds, the beasts, the giants, and the gods. This is the complete lore of the legendary Pokémon. Imagine, if you will, a world without these beings. A world where the seas do not rise and fall by the will of a great leviathan. Storms are merely wind and rain rather than the wrath of a thundering bird, and where the mountains were not pulled into place by a titan of immense strength. It would be a hollow world, a world without magic. The legendaries provide the soul of the Pokémon universe. They give us a sense of scale, reminding us that no matter how many badges we collect or how many battles we win, there are forces in this world far greater than ourselves. They represent the untamable side of nature, the parts of the world that cannot be fully understood, only respected. We often think of these creatures as targets to be captured, but in the lore, they are often the ones doing the capturing. They capture our imagination. They represent the history of the land itself. When you stand before the ruins of the brass tower, you aren't just looking at charred wood. You are looking at the birthplace of a legend, a site of resurrection and divine intervention. When you navigate the complex currents of the Seafoam Islands, you are treading through the frozen sanctuary of a bird that embodies the very essence of winter. In this deep dive, we will move chronologically and thematically, connecting the dots between regions that seem worlds apart. We will see how the creation myths of Sinnoh inform the struggles of the modern day and how the ancient wars of Kalos still echo in the energy that flows through the earth. We will meet the swordsmen who fought for the weak and the spirits who guard the balance of the forest. Every group has a purpose, every trio has a bond, and every legend has a beginning. As we begin this odyssey, keep your mind open to the mysteries. Some questions have answers carved in stone, while others remain lost to the winds of time, left for us to interpret through the fragments of stories passed down through generations of hikers, researchers, and elders. The journey is long, the lore is deep, and the secrets are many. Let us begin at the very start, with the trio that defined what it meant to be legendary, and follow the trail of myth all the way to the present day. Before anything existed, before light pierced the endless dark, or a single heartbeat echoed through creation, there was only the primordial void, an infinite expanse of nothingness, vast and silent, where no stars burned, no winds whispered, and no forms took shape. This was the canvas of eternity, untouched, unyielding, a realm where potential slumbered in absolute stillness. From this void, something stirred, not with a roar or a flash, but with a quiet certainty that reshaped reality itself. The original one awakened. Arceus, the Alpha, the architect of all that would come. Born from the chaos, or perhaps always there waiting, its form shimmered into being like the first thought piercing a dreamless sleep. A wheel of golden plates encircled its body, each segment pulsing with raw, untamed power, ready to bend the universe to its will. Arceus didn't emerge. It defined emergence, pulling threads of existence from the void's own fabric. With a single, deliberate act, Arceus shaped the chaos into order. It fashioned the cosmic hierarchy, a towering structure of divine forces that would govern every corner of the Pokémon world. From its essence sprang the pillars of reality, Dialga, the temporal Pokémon, forged from the platinum heart of time itself. Its body, a relentless forge of moments, ticking forward eternally. Palkia, the spatial Pokémon, carved from the void's spatial depths, twisting dimensions with diamond-hard claws that could rend the fabric of space. And Giratina, the renegade Pokémon, born of antimatter's fury, banished to the distortion world for its volatile rage, a shadowy guardian of the balance between matter and void. These weren't mere creatures, they were the enforcers of the fundamental laws. Time flowed in Dialga's unyielding rhythm, preventing the universe from unraveling into timeless stagnation. Space expanded and contracted under Palkia's command, holding worlds apart yet binding them in fragile harmony. Antimatter churned in Giratina's exile, a counterforce ensuring creation didn't collapse under its own weight. Arceus oversaw it all, the original one weaving plates of creation, destruction, and stasis, ground, water, fire, every element, to birth the plates that would one day empower legends across generations. Yet Arceus's vision extended further, embedding safeguards into the hierarchy. From its divine will came the Lake Guardians, Uxie, the knowledge Pokémon, with eyes that birthed intellect and memory, its golden form gliding through Sinnoh's misty lakes like a forgotten wisdom. Mesprit, the emotion Pokémon, pink and ethereal, infusing hearts with joy, sorrow, fury, the spark of feeling that binds souls. Azelf, the willpower Pokémon, blue as determination's flame, granting the resolve to defy impossibility. These three, born to watch over the colossal dragons Dialga and Palkia, ensured no single force dominated. They were the subtle threads, preventing cosmic wars from shattering the fragile order. Arceus didn't stop at gods and watchers. It shattered its own plates, scattering their power to ignite the stars, form the earth, and fill oceans with life. Lakes bubbled into being, mountains rose like ancient sentinels, and the first Pokémon stirred in primordial seas, simple forms that would evolve into the diverse tapestry we know. Gravity pulled, entropy clashed, evolution whispered promises of adaptation. These laws weren't abstract, they pulsed through every vein of the world, from the tiniest caterpie shedding its skin to the mightiest earthquakes splitting continents. As eons passed, the first ancient civilizations emerged, huddled in the shadows of these newborn wonders. They couldn't comprehend the full scope, but they felt it, the divine power humming in the air, shaping storms and seasons. Through oral traditions passed around flickering campfires, elders wove tales of the original one descending from a golden egg in the void, its voice like thunder birthing the dawn. Songs echoed of Arceus, crafting the world from its 17 plates, each a fragment of eternity, and how the dragons roared in harmony until imbalance threatened. Stone carvings captured these myths in enduring silence. In the ruins of Hisui, now modern Sinnoh, petroglyphs etched into Mount Coronet depict Arceus encircled by swirling voids, arrows of light bursting forth to form Dialga's hourglass chest, Palkia's pearl of space, Giratina's winged abyss. The Celestica people, calling it Almighty Sinnoh, chiseled warnings of the Lake Trio's watchful eyes, their forms stylized with flowing ribbons symbolizing knowledge's clarity, emotion's waves, willpower's unbreaking chains. Farther afield, in desert temples and coastal shrines, crude figures show the hierarchy's birth. A central wheel radiating lines to elemental beasts, hinting at laws that demanded balance or invited catastrophe. These carvings weren't mere art, they were maps to truth, instructions etched by hands trembling with awe. One Sinnoh slab, weathered by millennia, illustrates Arceus shattering a void egg, shards becoming the plates that mortals would one day seek. Oral legends from Johto's burned tower speak of Ho-Oh's revival, echoing Arceus's creative spark. Beasts rising from ash, as if the original one's law of rebirth demanded it. In Hoenn's sea caves, faded reliefs portray primal seas parting for land. A nod to the hierarchy's expansion into weather titans like Kyogre and Groudon, forever clashing under Rayquaza's skyward gaze. Generation after generation, these stories evolved, blending with sightings of roaming legends, sealing rituals for continental giants, even the swords that would defend the weak. They whispered of Arceus's solitude atop the Hall of Origin, a realm beyond Spear Pillar's summit, where it contemplates the hierarchy's fragile weave. Mortals interpreted the divine not as distant thunder, but as the ground beneath their feet, the emotions in their chests, the knowledge lighting their minds, proof that the original one's laws permeated everything. But these myths weren't isolated dreams. They laid the groundwork for the first tangible legends humanity would chase, the ones that stormed from Kantian skies and scorched Jotian plains. In our next chapter, the Kanto Foundation, we'll uncover how these cosmic seeds sprouted into the fiery wings and thunderous cries of the very first legendary trio, forever changing how we hunt the divine. With the cosmic hierarchy firmly in place, forged by Arceus's unyielding will, the Pokémon world began to pulse with new life, and it was in the rugged wilds of Kanto where the first true legends took flight, shattering the silence of creation with wings of ice, lightning, and flame. These were Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, emerging as the inaugural recorded legendary trio, their arrival whispered in ancient Kanto scrolls as harbingers of elemental fury. Picture the frozen peaks of the Seafoam Islands, where Articuno first manifested amid a blizzard that swallowed entire fleets, its crystalline feathers glinting like shattered diamonds under an eternal aurora. Legends speak of sailors vanishing into the mist, only to return with tales of a bird whose cry froze the ocean's rage, birthing icebergs that still drift those treacherous waters today. Articuno didn't just appear, it sculpted the land, turning coastal caves into labyrinths of eternal frost, a living testament to the chill that Arceus had woven into the fabric of reality. Then came Zapdos, erupting from the heart of the power plant, where the air crackled with stolen electricity from Kanto's humming generators. This Thunderbird claimed the abandoned facility as its throne, its body a storm incarnate, feathers sparking with raw voltage that could level forests in a single dive. Fishermen off the Vermilion coast reported skies darkening without warning, bolts forking down to ignite the waves, and in the aftermath, its schools of Magikarp floating belly up, their scales singed. Zapdos roamed not in seclusion, but as a tempest unleashed, embodying the wild electricity that coursed through the veins of the newborn world, a force too potent for containment. And high above the Sea of Japan, on the scorched pinnacle of Mount Ember, Moltres burst forth in a blaze that painted the horizon crimson, its wings fanning infernos that rivaled the sun's fury. Cinnabar Island's volcanoes trembled at its awakening, lava flows carving new paths down the slopes, while ash clouds choked the skies for weeks, forcing evacuations from nearby Fuchsia City. This Firebird wasn't merely a creature of heat, it was the spark of renewal, its flames said to heal scorched earth, a coaxing life from barren rock in a cycle of destruction and rebirth that mirrored the primal chaos Arceus had tamed. What binds these three in eternal legend beyond their elemental dominion lies hidden in the very cadence of their names. A linguistic secret etched by the ancients, drawing from Spanish whispers of counting: uno for one, dos for two, tres for three. Articuno fuses Arctic with Uno, the first, the singular chill that claims primacy in the trio's frozen vanguard. Zapdos merges the zap of lightning with Doze, the second, a dual-charge building on ice's foundation. Moltres blends molten flames with Tres, the third, completing the triad in a crescendo of fire. This wasn't coincidence. Early linguists in Kanto's scholarly circles decoded tablets from the Pokémon Mansion ruins, revealing how name-givers invoked numerical order to honour their sequential emergence, a subtle code embedding harmony amid chaos, as if Arceus itself had numbered the pillars of power. Their unity, as the first recorded legendary trio, wasn't just poetic, it forged the blueprint for every group that followed, establishing the mechanical template that echoes through generations. All three share identical base stat totals of 490, a perfect equilibrium of 90 HP, 90 attack, 85 defense, 95 special attack, 85 special defense, and 90 speed, ensuring no single member overshadows the collective. Their level-up movesets mirror this symmetry: core attacks like Ice Beam for Articuno, Drill Peck, and Thunder for Zapdos, a Fire Blast and Sky Attack for Moltres, yet unified by shared learnings such as Agility, Fly, and Hyper Beam, allowing trainers to envision them as interchangeable engines of aerial dominance. In battle, they demanded the same pursuit: high investment in special attack sweeps, pivoting on type advantages, a formula replicated in trios, from Johto's Beasts to Unova's Guardians. Encased in the Safari Zone or Power Plant, they weren't roamers but stationary sentinels, encounterable through persistence rather than chance, setting the expectation for legendaries as endgame trials rather than fleeting glimpses. Even their typings, pure ice, pure electric, pure fire, laid the groundwork for elemental trinities, where contrasts create balance, opposition breeds legend. So Kanto's trainers learned quickly that facing one meant preparing for the synergy of all three, as folklore warned of their rare convergences during cataclysms, skies torn by blizzards, laced with lightning and crowned in flame. This trio didn't just inhabit the world, they defined its conflicts, their clashes carving the power plant's ruins, and Seafoam's depths, inspiring the first Pokédex entries to classify them not as beasts, but as avatars of nature's untamed wrath. Their legacy permeates deeper still, influencing everything from badge quests to elite challenges, where gym leaders echoed their elements in Brook's Ice, Lieutenant Surge's Shocks, and Blaine's Blaze. In the anime, Ash's encounters painted them as elusive sovereigns, each appearance reshaping the landscape. Articuno calming a thawing world, Zapdos igniting a blackout's fury, Moltres rising from Cinnabar's eruption. Games like Fire Red and Leaf Green amplified this, with remakes preserving their exacting stats and moves, ensuring the template endured. Yet for all their isolation, whispers persist of greater convocations, shadowed flocks that hint at forces beyond Kanto's shores, guardians poised between sky and sea, ready to claim their place in the escalating mythos. As we turn our gaze toward those enigmatic sentinels in Guardians of the Sky and Sea, you'll uncover how oceanic depths and celestial vaults birthed rivalries that nearly unmade the world. What cataclysmic balance did they enforce, and at what primal cost? As the chill winds of Articuno sweep across frozen peaks, the crackling fury of Zapdos ignites the horizon, and Moltres' flames dance over volcanic craters, you begin to see their true purpose beyond mere emergence. These aren't random wanderers of the skies, they're the vital regulators of Kanto's climate, each embodying an elemental force that keeps the region's delicate balance from shattering. Articuno, the freeze Pokémon, claims dominion over the icy extremities, its wings generating blizzards that blanket the northern seas in perpetual frost. Without its presence, unchecked warmth would melt the glaciers of Seafoam Islands, flooding coastal lands and disrupting ocean currents that nourish Kanto's fisheries. You can almost feel the sub-zero gales it summons, carving crystalline caverns deep underground, where it nests amid echoing drips and shimmering ice walls. This eternal chill isn't destruction, it's preservation, locking away excess heat and ensuring winter's grip tempers the summers, preventing droughts that could wither the heartlands. Then there's Zapdos, the electric Pokémon, whose storms electrify the atmosphere itself. Perched in the ruins of the abandoned power plant along the southern coast, it unleashes thunderheads that recharge the skies, balancing electrical charges to avert cataclysmic imbalances. Imagine the hum of gathering clouds, the sharp ozone scent before lightning splits the air. Zapdos's domain prevents static buildup that could spark wildfires or cripple winds, keeping trade routes open and farmlands irrigated by timely rains. Its power surges through the rusted machinery around it, a living dynamo that stabilizes Kanto's volatile weather patterns, turning potential chaos into rhythmic cycles of renewal. Moltres completes the triad as the flame Pokémon, igniting the Earth's core from its lair in the scorching depths of Victory Road. Its radiant heat fuels geothermal vents, moderating volcanic tempers and circulating warmth to counter Articuno's frost. Picture plumes of ash and embers rising like phoenix rebirths, warming ocean depths to sustain migratory life, and thawing frozen soils for spring growth. Together, these birds orchestrate a symphony of fire, ice, and storm, their interactions weaving the climate's fabric. Articuno cools, Zapdos stirs, Moltres warms, ensuring Kanto's ecosystems thrive in harmony, from mist-shrouded forests to sun-baked plains. But why do these stationary sentinels shun the bustling heart of Kanto, retreating to its most forsaken fringes? Seafoam Islands for Articuno, a labyrinth of flooded caves battered by relentless waves, far from human eyes. The derelict power plant for Zapdos, shrouded in flickering shadows and coastal fog, abandoned after mechanical failures no mortal could mend. Victory Road for Moltres, a twisting underworld of magma rivers and echoing roars, accessible only to the most determined trainers scaling sheer cliffs. These isolated corners aren't prisons, they're sanctuaries, chosen for their natural barriers, treacherous waters, corrosive rust, blistering heat that deter interference. Here, undisturbed by civilization's sprawl, the birds maintain their vigil, their powers undiluted by the clamor of cities like Saffron or Celadon. Proximity to raw elemental sources amplifies their influence. Glacial depths, surging tides laced with electric potential, subterranean fires pulsing with the planet's heartbeat. In these remote bastions, they stand eternal, weaving climate control without the risk of human ambition unraveling their work. Yet whispers in ancient Kanto scrolls hint at a deeper alliance, one veiled in mystery, the hidden bond between these sky sovereigns and Lugia, the diving Pokémon, guardian of the seas. While the birds command the heavens, Lugia rules the abyssal depths from the Whirl Islands, its massive silvery wings parting whirlpools like silk through water. Legends speak of a pact forged in primordial tempests, where unchecked aerial fury from the trio threatened to churn oceans into maelstroms. Lugia, with psychic prowess rivaling the gods, intervenes subtly, diving from clouded skies to quell gales, its aeroblast silencing storms before they rage unchecked. You sense it in the calm after bird-sparked hurricanes, the way Lugia's silhouette haunts mariners' tales during Articuno's blizzards or Moltres' heat waves. This unseen partnership forms a complete cycle. Birds ignite atmospheric shifts, Lugia anchors them to the seas, preventing floods or droughts that could engulf the land. Some say Lugia once sheltered the fledgling trio during a cosmic upheaval, binding their fates in mutual vigilance, sky and sea entwined, invisible threads holding Kanto's world steady against entropy's pull. Envision sailors navigating the Vermilion coast, their lanterns flickering under Zapdos's distant thunder, only for Lugia's pressure waves to still the swells just in time. Or fishermen in Cinnabar's shadow, spared Moltres' ash rains by deep currents redirected from below. This relationship thrives in secrecy, for revealing it might invite those who seek to harness such power, much like the tower dwellers of Johto who tampered with forces beyond their grasp. And that tampering leads us straight into Chapter 4, Tragedy at the Brass Tower, where lightning's wrath births a new legacy of roamers from the ashes of hubris. Stick around, because the beasts that rise from those flames will roam in ways these stationary guardians never could, forever changed by one fateful strike. While the legendary birds commanded the tempests over Kanto's vast seas and jagged peaks, with Lugia stirring the deepest currents below to keep their fury in check, a far grimmer tale unfolded across the waves in the ancient land of Johto. There, in the shadowed heart of Ecruteak City, rose the Brass Tower, its golden spires piercing the mist-shrouded sky like fingers grasping at the divine. Built by hands long forgotten, it stood as a beacon of mortal pride, rivaling even the sacred Tin Tower nearby, both erected in hopes of drawing the gaze of the rainbow-winged phoenix, Ho-Oh itself. Ecruteak was no ordinary place. Its streets wound through crumbling pagodas and lantern-lit shrines, where the air hummed with the whispers of spirits and the distant chime of prayer bells. Mortals and Pokémon alike gathered at the Brass Tower's base, offering incense and chants to honor the legends of old. But ambition breeds catastrophe. One fateful night, as thunderheads boiled over the plains, a bolt from the heavens, raw, unforgiving, struck the tower's peak. Flames erupted in an instant, devouring the wooden beams and thatched heights with a roar that shook the earth. The fire spread like vengeance unleashed, its orange maw licking at the stars. Screams pierced the night, both human and Pokémon, as the structure buckled under the inferno's weight. Amid the chaos, 3 nameless Pokémon, humble guardians of the tower, perhaps mere beasts seeking shelter, were trapped within. Their cries echoed through the blaze, fur-singed forms collapsing as smoke choked the life from them. They perished there, unnamed and unremembered, their essences reduced to ash drifting on the wind. The historical fire in Ecruteak City that claimed the lives of 3 nameless Pokémon became etched into Johto's soul, a scar of hubris that no river could wash away. As dawn broke grey and ashen over the ruins, grief hung heavy like a shroud. The people of Ecruteak wailed at the smouldering skeleton of their pride, their offerings turned to cinders. But from the east, where the first light bled across the horizon, came a presence that silenced the mourners. Wings vast as storm clouds unfurled, shimmering with every hue of the rainbow, Ho-Oh, the guardian of all Pokémon, descended upon the devastation. Its eyes, twin embers of eternal wisdom, surveyed the loss, and in that gaze burned not judgment, but profound sorrow. Ho-Oh's divine intervention unfolded like a miracle woven from the threads of creation itself. The phoenix circled the charred remains, its cry a melody that pierced the veil between worlds. Radiant energy poured from its form, a cascade of light that knit the air together, drawing the scattered ashes back to the tower's heart. The 3 fallen Pokémon stirred, their bodies reforming from nothingness, flesh knitting over bone, breath returning in gasps of reborn fire. It was the miracle of resurrection, defying death's cold grip, a testament to Ho-Oh's boundless compassion. No longer mere shadows, they rose transformed, pulsing with powers born from the tragedy that birthed them. Yet this rebirth carried a deeper alchemy. The transformation of grief into the elemental power of the legendary beasts marked the moment Johto's legends truly ignited. The first, crackling with untamed electricity, became Raikou, the thunder Pokémon, its violet fur alive with sparks, eyes flashing like distant lightning, forever chasing storms across the plains. Beside it emerged Entei, the volcano Pokémon, mane erupting in crimson flames that no water could quench. Its raw summoning lava flows from the earth's hidden veins. And completing the trio was Suicune, the Aurora Pokémon, its crystalline form shimmering with purifying winds, graceful steps trailing rainbows through the dust. These were no stationary sentinels like the birds of Kanto. Ho-Oh's gift came laced with restlessness. Their power, forged in loss, compelled them to roam Johto's wilds endlessly, elusive shadows hunters could only glimpse through patience and fate. Legends whisper that they were already destined forms, waiting in those nameless shells, or perhaps Ho-Oh reshaped them entirely from the embers of purity. Either way, they embodied the cycle of destruction and renewal. Fire's fury in Entei, thunder's wrath in Raikou, water's serene redemption in Suicune. Their presence reshaped Johto's folklore overnight. Villages spoke of Raikou galloping through thunderheads, splitting boulders with electric gales that fertilized the soil for new growth. Entei prowled volcanic crags, its heat awakening hot springs where weary travelers found solace, a balm for the tower's lingering ache. Suicune, ever the cleanser, swept across polluted rivers, its aurora breath turning toxins to crystal purity, healing the land's wounds one stride at a time. Together, they formed the first true roaming legends, their battle cries a unique symphony, echoing only when challengers dared pursue. This divine rebirth echoed Ho-Oh's own eternal cycle, the phoenix that rises from its own pyre, but the beasts carried the weight of mortality's sting. No shrines could contain them, no trainers claimed them lightly. They were Johto's wandering hearts, pulsing with the raw elements that once destroyed them, guardians born from ghosts. And as their legend spread, whispers grew of their ceaseless journeys, the paths they carved through mist and mountain. In Chapter 5, The Roaming Spirits, you'll chase these elusive titans across Johto's endless trails, uncovering the secrets of their hunts and the fates that bind them still. What unbreakable force keeps them forever on the move, denying rest to legends born in flame? From the smouldering ruins of the Brass Tower, 3 new forms stirred into existence, reborn by Ho-Oh's radiant flames. Raikou, the thunder Pokémon, crackled with wild electricity, its sleek yellow fur standing on end like a storm about to break. Entei, the volcano Pokémon, erupted with volcanic fury, its mane a cascade of molten rock, that scorched the earth beneath its paws. And Suicune, the Aurora Pokémon, shimmered with an ethereal grace, its crystalline body refracting light into rainbows that danced across the charred stones. These weren't the nameless beasts that had perished in the blaze. Ho-Oh had reshaped them, infusing their spirits with elemental might that echoed the catastrophe itself, lightning's fury, fire's rage, and water's purifying flow. Legends whisper that they rose not as gentle companions to humanity, but as forces too vast, too untamed for the fragile world of cities and shrines. Their power hummed through the air, shaking the ground of Ogrepon, drawing awed gasps from the villagers who peered from afar. You can almost feel the tremor in the Johto soil that night, the way the wind carried sparks and ash, signaling something profound had changed. These revived legends couldn't linger amid the rebuilt towers and human hearths. Their rebirth demanded movement, a restless vigil over the land. Raikou, Entei, and Suicune departed from human civilization swiftly, vanishing into the wilds like ghosts fleeing dawn. They became the roaming spirits, eternal wanderers, patrolling Johto's vast expanses, their paws barely touching the earth as they raced across plains, mountains, and seas. Picture the Thunder Pokémon streaking through golden grasslands under thunderheads. It summoned itself, bolts forking from its body to illuminate distant peaks. Entei bounded over volcanic ridges, leaving trails of cooled lava that hardened into obsidian paths, its roar echoing like an underground eruption. Suicune glided along crystal streams, purifying polluted waters with a mere breath, its rainbow mane trailing mist that cooled fevered forests. They shunned the warmth of villages, the safety of shrines, compelled by an inner fire, Ho-Oh's gift and curse, to roam ceaselessly, guardians unbound by walls or maps. This departure marked more than myth. When Pokémon Gold and Silver introduced them to the world, players faced a revolution in how legends were chased. No longer did you trek to a hidden shrine or frozen summit for a stationary showdown, like the birds perched eternally in their domains. Raikou, Entei, and Suicune pioneered the roaming mechanic, elusive phantoms that appeared randomly on the world map, vanishing if you couldn't catch up. You'd spot their icons flickering across routes, from the foggy paths of Route 29 to the windswept cliffs of Route 48, only to have them slip away, forcing you to save before every encounter, heal your lead Pokémon obsessively, and master the repel trick to control their levels. Hours blurred into nights of pursuit, your character sprinting through tall grass, heart pounding as the screen flashed their silhouette. One wrong turn, one failed Ultra Ball toss, and they'd bolt, respawning elsewhere with full health. It turned hunting into a test of patience and strategy, mirroring their lore as spirits too powerful to pin down. They even claimed the honor of the first legendary trio battle theme, a haunting melody that swelled when you finally cornered one, strings and percussion evoking their primal energy. Yet shadows of doubt linger in the scrolls of Johto lore. Official tales diverge, were these beasts already Raikou, Entei, and Suicune in life, struck down by lightning in their prime? Or did Ho-Oh pluck 3 unidentified souls from the pyre, molding them anew? Some ancient texts hint at familiarity, sparking a debate that fans still ignite in forums today. Could they have been Jolteon, Flareon, and Vaporeon, the electric, fiery and watery evolutions of Eevee, before the blaze claimed them? Their sleek forms, elemental alignments, and shared ancestry with the adaptable fox Pokémon fuel the theory. Jolteon's spiky fur mirrors Raikou's charged mane. Flareon's blazing coat echoes Entei's volcanic blaze. Vaporeon's fluid grace parallels Suicune's watery aurora. Skeptics point out the evolution's domestic origins, tamed by trainers long before the towers fall, while the legends feel primordial, born of disaster. Game Freak never confirmed it, leaving the question to simmer like embers in ash. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes, their models retained that elusive speed, darting off-screen with pixelated blurs that taunted your every Master Ball. Even in later titles like Pokémon Heart Gold, their roaming paths wove through remastered Johto, a nod to that original thrill. Their wanderings wove deeper into Johto's soul. Raikou haunted the storm-lashed plateaus near the Tin Tower, its presence heralded by crackling skies that bent trees double. Entei prowled the fiery depths around Qian Wood, where waves crashed against cliffs still warm from its passage. Suicune, ever the purifier, appeared in glacial mists on Route 42, its steps turning tainted rivers clear as glass. Trainers spoke of omens, a sudden gale, a heat wave, a shimmering pool, signs the spirits drew near. In battles, their movesets roared with Resurrection's fury, Raikou's thunderbolts chaining across fields, Entei's fire blasts engulfing foes in infernos, Suicune's hydro pumps carving canyons from thin air. They shared no evolutions, no megaforms in early days, standing pure as Ho-Oh intended, symbols of raw, uncontainable power. Crystal's Suicune event added personal flair, letting you chase the Aurora Pokémon through a scripted pursuit ending at Tin Tower, where it tested your worth before yielding. Generations later, their legacy echoed. In Pokémon Colosseum, shadow versions prowled Ori's wastes. In Legends Arceus, spectral beasts roamed Hisui's frontiers. But Johto's originals set the template, teaching that true legends don't wait. They challenge you to earn them. Fans dissected every frame, mapping spawn rates, optimal bike speeds on routes 27 to 47, turning obsession into art. As their paths diverged further into legend, whispers grew of Suicune's auroral grace calming tempests and Entei's volcanic heart reshaping mountains. What secrets do the Aurora and the volcano hold as these spirit stories unfold in even wilder tales? As Raikou, Entei, and Suicune scattered into the wilds of Johto, their restless energy reshaped the land itself, turning every step into a testament to the forces they command. No longer bound to towers or shrines, they became ghosts in the grass, phantoms on the horizon, challenging trainers to chase shadows across vast expanses. But beneath that endless roam lies a deeper purpose, one where each beast guards a primal essence of the world. Raikou charges first into the storm-swept plains, its body a crackle of raw electricity, fur standing on end like spines of lightning frozen mid-bolt. Legends whisper that it moves at the speed of lightning itself, blurring across Johto in flashes that leave scorched earth and the sharp tang of ozone in their wake. You can almost feel the air hum when it's near, a low vibration building to thunder that rattles your bones. This isn't mere speed, it's Raikou's role as the unyielding guardian against external threats, patrolling the borders where shadows from distant lands might creep in. In ancient scrolls from Ikrutake, scribes described it repelling invaders from Kanto's edges, its bolts forming walls of plasma that no army could breach. Trainers who glimpse it speak of eyes like storm clouds, locking onto foes with predatory focus, unleashing thunder as a verdict from the sky. Its presence ensures Johto's storms cleanse rather than destroy, channeling fury into protection, a sentinel whose roar echoes the heartbeat of the thunder god it once served. Yet Raikou's vigilance pairs with Entei's inferno, the beast whose every breath ignites the earth's hidden fires. Known as the volcano Pokémon, Entei embodies the physical manifestation of heat, rising from magma chambers deep below Johto's mountains, where pressure builds until it erupts in rivers of molten rock. Picture it bounding up from Tianwood's cliffs or the peaks near Olivine, coat glowing like embers in a forge, pours melting stone into glass with each stride. Folklore ties it directly to volcanic activity, claiming its roars trigger tremors that split the ground, spewing lava that reshapes coastlines and births new islands overnight. In the heat of its sacred fire attack, you see the core of creation, flames so pure they cauterize wounds as they burn, a duality of destruction and renewal. Entei doesn't just endure heat, it is heat incarnate, drawn to places where the earth's anger simmers, like the fiery pits rumoured beneath the Tin Tower's ruins. Witnesses describe the air warping around it, mirages dancing as temperatures soar, turning nearby streams to steam and forests to ash fields that bloom anew in the aftermath. It's the Forge Master of Johto, tempering the land through cataclysm. And then there's Suicune, the Aurora Pokémon, gliding through it all like a ribbon of northern light cutting the night. While its brothers rage with storm and blaze, Suicune pursues purity with a grace that sets it apart. Its crystalline mane shimmering in hues of ice blue and silver, trailing mist that purifies all it touches. In Johto's narrative, it holds a unique role as the North Wind's harbinger, the cleanser of taint, wandering crystal-clear lakes and poisoned rivers to restore balance. Legends from the Kimono Girls in Icrutake paint it as the judge of waters, appearing only where corruption festers, factory runoff blackening the sea, or ancient curses fouling sacred springs. With a single gaze from its ruby eyes, it summons Aurora Beam, freezing impurities into harmless fractals that dissolve like morning dew. Travelers tell of following its trail, finding streams reborn, fish leaping in waters once dead, the air fresh with the scent of rain on stone. Unlike Raiku's defense or Entei's rebirth through fire, Suicune's quest is endless restoration, embodying Johto's fragile harmony between nature and human folly. It led the player in Heart Gold and Soul Silver across the region, a spectral guide revealing hidden truths, proving its bond to the land's soul. These three, reborn from tragedy, don't roam aimlessly. Their paths intersect in cycles that mirror Johto's own rhythms. Raiko's lightning clears the skies for Entei's heat to warm the soil, allowing Suicune's aurora to wash away the scars. Ancient murals in the burned tower depict them circling the region eternally, their energies weaving a protective veil. Johto's people revere them not as distant gods, but as kin to the land. Raiko chasing away blizzards from Blackthorn, Entei fueling the hot springs of Violet City, where weary souls heal, Suicune blessing the pure waters of the Tin Tower for Ho-Oh's return. Their power manifests in battles too, with signature moves that echo their essences. Thunder ripping through foes like Judgment, Lava Plume erupting in waves of searing tolerance, Mirror Coat reflecting malice back purified. Even in slumber, their influence lingers. Trainers report static shocks on windy nights, ground too warm underfoot near volcanoes, or sudden clarity in fog-shrouded valleys. But their legend deepens in the game's hidden layers. Released in gold and silver, they introduce the roaming mechanic, forcing you to track radio signals across routes, hearts pounding as the screen flashes their departure. A battle theme swells, distinct and haunting, strings and percussion evoking a chase through eternity. In Crystal, Suicune's story expands, challenging you at Tin Tower after proving your worth, its elegance demanding respect over brute force. Remakes in Heart Gold and Soul Silver add events where Entei erupts from Mount Silver's depths. Raiko streaks across the Safari Zone, each encounter a pilgrimage. Later generations scatter them further. Movie 5 shows them aiding Ash against a greater evil. Crystal Chronicles binds their spirits to summon Ho-Oh. Their base stats balance at 600 even, attack heavy for Entei and Raiko, special defense bolstering Suicune's resilience, evolutions absent to preserve their mythic purity. Feel the chill of Suicune's wake as it vanishes over a hill, the ground trembling faintly from Entei's distant rumble, the sky flickering with Raiko's farewell spark. Johto breathes through them, a land alive with their pulse. And as their guardianship holds the region steady, greater forces stir beneath, shaping continents and skies in ways that dwarf even these beasts. Next, in Chapter 7, Architects of the Earth uncover how titans like Kyogre and Grudem wage wars that could swallow Johto whole, what cataclysms wait when the sea and land collide. Entei's fiery essence pulses through the veins of the earth, a reminder that volcanoes are more than just eruptions. They reshape continents over eons. Yet, if you trace that power back to its primordial source, you'll find forces far grander, locked in a rivalry that predates human memory. In the sun-baked wilds of Hoenn, two titans emerged from the planet's core, each driven by an insatiable urge to claim dominance. Grudem, the harbinger of endless land, and Kyogre, the sovereign of boundless seas. These weren't beasts born of tragedy or resurrection like the Johto legends. No, Groudon and Kyogre arose as embodiments of the world's primal dichotomy, dry earth, clashing against surging oceans. Picture the ground cracking open under Groudon's massive strides, continents thrusting upward in jagged defiance, swallowing coastlines whole. Its body, a colossal fusion of molten rock and unyielding stone, radiates drought-inducing heat that withers forests into dust and turns rivers to cracked beds. Legends whisper that Groudon slumbers deep within the Earth's mantle, awakening only when the seas encroach too far, its roar summoning solar flares that bake the skies crimson. Kyogre counters with equal fury, diving from abyssal trenches to flood the world anew. Its sleek, whale-like form channels the ocean's fury, precipitating endless downpours that drown valleys and spawn tempests capable of shattering mountains. Blue flames of primal energy course through its fins, evaporating land masses into mist and birthing hurricanes that rage for months. This ancient conflict between Groudon and Kyogre over the expansion of land and sea has echoed through Hoenn's geology for millennia, their battles etching the region's very topography, rugged plateaus where land won, submerged ruins where water prevailed. Hoenn's people learned this the hard way during the last Great Awakening. Skies darkened for years as endless rain hammered the land, rivers swelled into inland seas, and crops failed under perpetual gloom. Then came the backlash. Blistering suns scorched the flooded earth, wildfires consumed the sodden wilds, and earthquakes split the islands apart. The catastrophic weather shifts that nearly destroyed the Hoenn region left scars still visible today, sunken cities off the coast of Slateport, parched craters in the jagged pass, twisted mangroves strangled by salt. Villages clung to mountain tops, their elders reciting tales of the super-ancient Pokémon who treated the world as their canvas, heedless of the fragile lives caught in the deluge and the blaze. What sets this duo apart from wandering spirits or frozen sentinels is their scale. They're not mere creatures to chase or purify. The introduction of the weather trio as forces of nature rather than mere creatures redefined legendaries entirely. Groudon doesn't roam, it reshapes. Kyogre doesn't hunt, it submerges. Their power warps the atmosphere itself, summoning perpetual drought or monsoon that lingers until one yields. Ancient murals in Rust Earth Tunnel depict them not as monsters, but as deities locked in eternal stalemate, their clashes birthing Hoenn's diverse biomes, from the humid rainforests of Fortree to the arid dunes of Route 111. Delve deeper into the lore, and you'll uncover their primal origins. In the shadowed annals of Hoenn myth, these titans once transcended even their formidable forms. Primal Groudon, awakened through blue orbit energy from meteorites, grows armored plates that store sunlight like a living forge, its desolate land ability evaporating all moisture in a radius that spans regions. Primal Kyogre, fueled by red orbit, swells with hydrostatic might, its primordial sea dousing flames and expanding oceans exponentially. These reverted states, revealed in callous ruins, hint at a time when the planet was raw chaos, land and sea vying for every inch before balance was imposed. Hoenn's trainers first encountered echoes of this strife in caves like Terror Cave and Marine Cave, where the ground trembles and waters boil at their stirring. Team Aqua and Magma, misguided cults worshipping sea and land, sought to rouse them with orbs of power, the red orb for Groudon, blue for Kyogre, unleashing the duo upon Lilycove and Sootopolis. The skies fractured, wind howled with otherworldly rage, and the region teetered on annihilation until intervention came from above. But that Mediator, coiled in the ozone's embrace, waits in the shadows of our tale. Their influence lingers in every weather anomaly Hoenn endures, sudden heat waves mirroring Groudon's blaze, flash floods evoking Kyogre's wrath. Even in battles, their presence commands the elements. Precipice blades erupt from Groudon's claws, carving canyons. Origin Pulse from Kyogre fractures the air with watery beams. No other legendaries so fundamentally alter the battlefield, turning grass to wasteland or oceans to steam. Yet, This trio's philosophy runs deeper than destruction. They embody nature's brutal equilibrium, where expansion demands sacrifice. Gruden's landmasses foster life in their stability, vast plains for herds, towering peaks for aviaries. Kyogre's seas teem with unseen wonders, coral labyrinths and migratory depths. Together, their conflict ensures diversity, preventing a world of monotonous ocean or barren rock. Hoenn's ecology thrives on this tension. Volcanic soils enriched by lava flows, fisheries bountiful from upwelling currents. Ancient texts from the seafloor caverns speak of the great shaping when Gruden heaved Mount Chimney into existence, its magma heart beating in rhythm with the Earth's core. Kyogre, in retort, carved the underwater labyrinths of abyssal ruins, where stone tablets chronicle their feud in glyphs weathered by tides. Trainers who bond with them through the Delta episode or remakes feel this raw pulse, their Pokemon's cries harmonizing with seismic rumbles or tidal surges. As the dust settled from their last clash, Hoenn rebuilt, but the memory endures in festivals like the Sky Pillar rites, where offerings appease the balance. Gruden and Kyogre teach that power unchecked devours all, a lesson etched in petrified forests and drowned harbors. And when their fury peaks beyond control, piercing the stratosphere to unravel the skies. That's where Chapter 8, the Mediator of the Ozone, comes in, a skyward guardian whose descent has quelled apocalypses time and again. What secrets does it hold to tame these earthly architects? Stick around after this lull, and you'll find out. As the landmasses heaved upward under Gruden's relentless fury, and the seas rose in Kyogre's vengeful surge, drowning continents in endless torrents, Hoenn teetered on the brink of oblivion. Towering tsunamis crashed against newborn mountains, skies blackened with perpetual storms, and the air itself crackled with the raw imbalance of creation undone. You can almost feel the ground shuddering beneath your feet, the salt spray stinging your skin, as if the world itself were screaming for mercy. From the highest reaches of the atmosphere, where the ozone layer shimmers like a veil between our fragile planet and the void of space, came the one force capable of restoring order. Rayquaza, the draconic sentinel of the skies, dwells eternally in that thin, protective stratum, patrolling the boundaries of the world with eyes that pierce the clouds. Its serpentine body, longer than a cruise liner and armored in emerald scales that refract sunlight into blinding rainbows, coils through jet streams at speeds defying comprehension. Legends whisper that Rayquaza has never touched solid ground in eons, sustaining itself on pure atmospheric energy, a living embodiment of the heavens' untamed power. When Groudon and Kyogre's primal instincts ignited into all-out war, their roars echoing like thunder across the globe, Rayquaza sensed the disturbance rippling upward. The ozone trembled, the balance shattered. In a descent that etched itself into Hoenn's ancient myths, Rayquaza plummeted from the stratosphere, trailing a comet's tail of ionized air and sonic booms that shattered windows for miles. Its massive form pierced the storm clouds like a green meteor, wings unfurling to cast shadows over the warring titans below. With a deafening cry that harmonized the chaos, part roar, part celestial hymn, Rayquaza intervened, quelling the primal rage of its peers. Groudon paused mid-stomp. Kyogre's waves receded, subdued not by force alone, but by the sheer authority of the sky's mediator. Rayquaza hovered between them, a living truce, its presence reminding the earth and sea of their place in the grand hierarchy. This intervention wasn't mere legend, it's woven into the fabric of Hoenn's geography. At the heart of the region stands the Sky Pillar, a crumbling spire of weathered stone thrusting skyward from a remote island, its peak lost in perpetual mist. Carved by hands long forgotten, or perhaps shaped by Rayquaza itself during one of its rare earthbound visits, the pillar serves as the ultimate bridge between the terrestrial and the celestial. Pilgrims and trainers alike climb its labyrinthine heights, navigating traps and illusions, only to find the summit open to the heavens. Here, the air grows thin and electric. The boundary blurs ground meets sky in a sacred convergence. It's said the pillar pulses with Rayquaza's energy, a beacon calling it down when the world falters. Without this conduit, Rayquaza might never descend, forever isolated in its ozone throne, leaving the land and sea to devour each other unchecked. Rayquaza's role extends beyond mediation. It's the pinnacle of evolutionary transcendence. In the annals of Pokémon history, Rayquaza holds the distinction of being the first recorded species to achieve mega evolution. This wasn't through a held stone or trainer's bond, but through its own raw mastery over life's potential. Ancient texts from Hoenn's lore describe how, during a cataclysm even older than Groudon and Kyogre's clashes, Rayquaza attuned itself to the infinite energies of the atmosphere. Drawing delta energy from the very fabric of the ozone, those mysterious particles that fuel mega forms, it underwent spontaneous mega evolution atop the sky pillar. Its body elongated further, sprouting a jagged fin crest like a crown of thorns, eyes blazing with otherworldly delta light. Mega Rayquaza gained dominion over Dragon Ascent, a move that summons aerial tempests capable of leveling armies, solidifying its status as the unchallenged overlord of the skies. No other Pokémon had tapped this power so purely, unassisted, marking Rayquaza as the evolutionary trailblazer whose feat inspired every mega evolution that followed. Picture the awe of those ancient witnesses huddled at the pillar's base as the mega-evolved form spiraled upward, stabilizing the world's axis with effortless loops. Rayquaza's interventions have saved Hoenn countless times since, each descent a reminder that true power lies not in domination, but in equilibrium. It retreats to the ozone afterward, vigilant, waiting for the next imbalance. The sky pillar endures as its earthly anchor, a testament to the delicate thread connecting our world to the stars. Yet, even Rayquaza's mediation has limits when Groudon and Kyogre revert to their most ancient, unbound states. In Chapter 9, Primal Reversion, we'll uncover how these titans shed their modern forms, unleashing primordial might that forces Rayquaza into battles more desperate than ever. What hidden weaknesses does this expose in the Mediator itself? Rayquaza's timely intervention from the ozone layer saved Hoenn from utter devastation time and again, its serpentine body coiling around the sky pillar like a living anchor between sky and earth. But what if that Mediator never arrived? What hidden forces lurked within Groudon and Kyogre themselves, waiting to unleash an even older fury? Deep beneath the scorched crust of Hoenn's landmasses and the abyssal trenches of its oceans, ancient relics slumbered for millennia, untouched by the endless cycles of tide and tremor. These were the red orb and the blue orb, crystalline artifacts pulsing with primordial energy, forged in the world's infancy when continents first heaved from the waves. Fishermen off the coast of Slateport whispered of glowing lights beneath the waves during rare full moons, and miners in the caverns near Laveridge unearthed crimson stones that burned hotter than any forge. It wasn't until explorers in the modern era pieced together fragmented cave paintings and Sinnoh scrolls that their true purpose emerged. The red orb resonated with Groudon's core, awakening the continental Pokémon to its original might, while the blue orb called to Kyogre, stirring the sea basin Pokémon from its hydrated depths. These orbs didn't merely empower, they reverted their bearers to states forgotten by time, channels for the raw, untamed power that shaped the planet before life even crawled from the primordial soup. Imagine the moment of activation, that fateful resonance when the orbs are held aloft amid gathering storms. Groudon's eyes ignite first, a molten red that pierces the haze of volcanic ash, its body swelling as latent energy surges through veins of magma. The ground quakes not from footsteps, but from the sheer expansion of its form, plates of armor thickening into a delta-shaped behemoth that blots out the sun. Primal Groudon emerges, towering twice the height of its modern self, its hide absorbing sunlight like a living furnace, converting it into precipice blades that erupt from the earth in jagged spires of stone and flame. No longer just the land expander, it becomes a walking cataclysm, sunlight fueling an aura that desiccates oceans and cracks mountains, its roar a thunder that splits the horizon. Across the flooded plains, Kyogre stirs in kind, the blue orb shattering the pressure of 10,000 fathoms as water spirals upward in defiance of gravity. Its sleek blue form elongates, fins broadening into wings of scale that shimmer with absorbed moisture, transforming into Primal Kyogre, a leviathan whose very presence summons origin pulse, beams of watery annihilation that carve canyons from coastlines. Bioluminescent patterns flare across its body, drawing in every droplet from the air, swelling the seas until islands vanish beneath endless blue. The air grows thick with salt and pressure, winds howling as if the ocean itself screams in rage. This is the terrifying reality of Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre's true forms, not evolutions but reversions to their alpha states, when the world was a battleground of unchecked elements. Groudon's primal aura scorches the atmosphere, raising global temperatures to boil rivers dry, while Kyogre's primordial sea floods the skies with perpetual rain, drowning forests in inches-deep water per hour. Their clashes aren't mere territorial spats. They rewrite the laws of nature. Droughts turn fertile valleys to dust bowls, where seeds wither before sprouting, and megafloods submerge cities, leaving only rooftops as perches for desperate wingle. Pokémon flee in herds, ecosystems collapsing as fire types dominate sun-baked badlands and water types rule submerged ruins, predators and prey alike swept into oblivion. At the heart of it all lies the delicate balance of the world's ecosystem, a fragile equilibrium Groudon and Kyogre embody and threaten in equal measure. Land must rise to cradle life, seas must recede to allow it to breathe, but in their primal fury, that balance tips toward permanent instability. Hoenn's coral reefs bleach white under relentless heat, migratory patterns shatter as winds shift eternally, and deep-sea vents erupt with toxic plumes that poison food chains for generations. Ancient texts from the Sevii Islands speak of the Great Sundering, a near apocalypse where primal energies clashed for weeks, leaving scars visible from space, vast deserts where jungles once thrived, and inland seas carving through mountains. Rayquaza's role becomes not just mediation but salvation, for without it the planet risks locking into one extreme, a supercontinent of fire or a water world of endless deluge. Biodiversity reduced to extremophiles clinging to volcanic rims or hydrothermal vents. Scholars in Lilycove's museum pore over orb fragments, debating their origins tied to the creation trio's distant echoes, how Arceus's plates might have birthed these catalysts. In battles witnessed by trainers, the orbs demand a toll, draining the holder's will as primal power overwhelms, turning allies into vessels of destruction. Yet, they reveal a profound truth. Pokémon like these aren't destroyers by nature, but guardians of cycles too vast for mortals to grasp. Push them too far, and reversion unleashes the wild heart of the earth itself. But Hoenn's mysteries extend beyond these titans of land and sea, harboring guardians of a more elusive kind, shrouded in enigma on remote islands. In Chapter 10, the Eon Duo's secret, we'll uncover the psychic siblings who drift like phantoms through the skies, their bond with a forbidden jewel holding the key to unseen realms. Stay with me as we chase those ethereal trails. While the red and blue orbs unleash the primal fury of Groudon and Kyogre, reshaping Hoenn's lands and seas in cataclysmic fury, a serene counterpoint lingered far to the south, untouched by the tempests below. Latios and Latios, the high-speed jet Pokémon of the southern island. These ethereal siblings, born from the same mystic egg, patrol the skies with velocities that blur the line between flight and teleportation. Their streamlined forms slicing through gales like arrows loosed from an ancient bow. Picture their crimson and azure bodies gleaming under Hoenn's relentless sun, wings humming with an otherworldly energy that propels them across oceans in heartbeats. Southern Island itself remains a hidden jewel, a verdant speck shrouded in perpetual mist, reachable only by those bearing the elusive Eon ticket, a digital key from events long past, whispering promises of encounters with legends who shun the mainland's chaos. You can almost feel the salt-kissed winds whipping past as they dive, their presence a fleeting shimmer against the horizon. Unlike the earth-shaking titans we've explored, Latios and Latios embody subtlety and guardianship, forever bound in a dance of protection over Hoenn's fragile balance. Legends speak of them as wandering protectors, drawn back to their island sanctuary when the world quiets, their psychic prowess weaving illusions that safeguard trainers and Pokémon alike from unseen perils. At the heart of their power lies the Soul Dew, a luminous orb pulsing with an inner light that mirrors the stars trapped in daylight. This artifact isn't mere jewelry, it's the conduit to their very essence. The mystical properties of the Soul Dew and its connection to their life force run deeper than any gemstone sparkle. It amplifies their abilities exponentially, turning swift flights into bursts of hypervelocity and psychic barriers into impenetrable veils. Held by Latios or Latios, it bathes them in a radiant aura, boosting stats across the board, as if channeling the island's ancient magic directly into their veins. Without it, they roam vulnerably. With it, they ascend to near-divine states, their life force intertwined so profoundly that losing the Dew weakens them to the core, a symbiotic bond forged in the mists of creation. Whispers from Hoenn's elders tell of the Dew's origins, crystallized tears from the duo themselves, shed during a forgotten calamity when Rayquaz's mediation failed and the Weather Trio's war threatened to engulf the skies. Retrieve it from their fallen forms in battle, and it becomes a trainer's prize, but only they can truly wield its full potential, their life force resonating in harmonious pulses that heal wounds mid-flight and sharpen senses to foresee disasters. It's no coincidence that Southern Island blooms eternally under their watch. The Dew's glow sustains the ecosystem, drawing rare flora that thrive only in its ethereal light, a living testament to their quiet dominion. What sets them apart even further is their unique ability to refract light and hide in plain sight among humans. Latios, the more empathetic of the pair, dons a psychic cloak that bends sunlight around her form, projecting human illusions, so convincing she blends into bustling cities, observing with wide, curious eyes. Travelers in Hoenn have sworn sightings of a red-haired girl who vanishes into crowds, only for Latios to reappear miles away, her refracted shimmer leaving no trace. Latios, her bolder brother, mirrors this with a sapphire guise, his form warping light into masculine silhouettes that patrol rooftops unseen, ever vigilant against threats to the innocent. This camouflage isn't mere trickery, it's survival woven into their being. In a world brimming with capture-obsessed trainers and shadowy organizations, they navigate human realms undetected, gathering intel on disturbances that could ripple into Hoenn's core. Feel the chill of their psychic probes brushing your mind as they assess motives, light fracturing like prisms around invisible wings. Stories abound of Latios shielding children from falling debris in Alto Mare, refracting his body to appear as a mere bystander, or Latios comforting the lost by mimicking a kindly stranger, her light-bending aura warm and reassuring. Their bond amplifies these gifts. Telepathic links allow them to share visions across vast distances. One cloaked in a market square, while the other scouts storm clouds birthed from primal echoes. In games, this manifests as held items in battle, but lore paints them as eternal wanderers, drawn inexorably to Southern Island when the Dew calls them home. They've intervened in crises beyond Hoenn, from shielding Ash Ketchum in the stars to thwarting movie villains with synchronized assaults, their jet-like speeds turning the tide in blurs of color. Yet, for all their grace, vulnerability shadows them. The Soul Dew's theft severs their strength, leaving them adrift, life force dimmed like stars eclipsed. Trainers who bond with them through special events feel this echo, the duo's trust earned only by those pure of heart. Southern Island's isolation amplifies the mystery. No bridges, no ferries, just the tickets warp to paradise, where altars await the Dew's recharge under moonlit waves. As Hoenn's primal scars fade, the Eon Duo's vigilance endures, a subtle force against the next upheaval. But whispers from distant temples hint at greater powers sealed away, continental creators stirring in icy vaults. Tune in next for Chapter 11, the Colossus of Snowpoint, where a titan dwarfing even these swift guardians awaits awakening, its chains rattling with the weight of forgotten epochs. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. While the ethereal glow of the soul dew sustained Latias and Latios in their aerial dances over the southern island, a far more grounded power stirred in the icy heart of Sinnoh, where the wind howls through Snowpoint City's perpetual blizzards and carves frozen spires from the unrelenting cold. Deep beneath that temple of ice, a being of unimaginable scale awaited awakening, its yellow eyes sealed shut by ancient bindings, its body a mountain of muscle and stone that predates the continents themselves. Regigigas, the master architect of legend, didn't just shape Pokémon, it forged the very skeleton of the world, towering over 50 feet tall, with arms thicker than ancient oaks and a gaze that could shatter bedrock. This colossal normal-type Pokémon moved with the deliberate fury of a living earthquake. Legends whisper that in the dawn of creation, when the world was a chaotic soup of molten rock and drifting land fragments, Regigigas descended like a god from the void. Its hands, etched with patterns mimicking Braille script, gripped massive ropes woven from unbreakable fibers, perhaps primordial vines, or the sinews of elder beasts, and with raw, inexhaustible might, it hauled the scattered land masses into position. Picture the scene, oceans boiling as supercontinents resisted, mountains buckling under the strain, the sky darkening with ash from volcanic protest. Regigigas pulled relentlessly, its footsteps carving the first great valleys, its roars echoing as thunder that split the heavens. This continental shift theory, pieced together from Sinnoh's ancient murals and geologists' whispers, explains why our world's plates bear scars like rope burns, gouges in the Earth's crust, matching the pattern of those colossal halls. It wasn't gentle creation, it was conquest, bending a formless planet into habitability through sheer terrifying force. From this act of world-building sprang the legendary giants, born directly from Regigigas' image to serve as its tireless extensions. First came Regirock, sculpted from the hardest granite veins exposed during the Great Pulls, its body a mosaic of unyielding stone that laughs at erosion. Then Regis, compressed from the glacial sheets that carved off as land masses collided, its crystalline form trapping prehistoric cold, so absolute it warps light around it. Registeel followed, forged in the superheated forges of clashing plates, its metallic hide impervious to blade or blaze, gleaming with an otherworldly polish. Centuries later, as if echoing its creator's boundless ingenuity, two more giants emerged from forgotten vaults. Regieleki, a living dynamo of electric veins pulsing like lightning trapped in amber, and Regidrago, a serpentine terror with a dragon's maw and scales that devour energy itself. Each one bears the Regi prefix like a divine seal, their designs mirroring Regigigas' dotted eyes and blocky forms, but specialized for the tasks their maker demanded: carving caves, freezing floods, tempering ores, harnessing storms, and guarding frontiers. Yet for all this benevolence in shaping a world for life to thrive, ancient humans beheld Regigigas not as savior, but as apocalypse incarnate. Eyewitness carvings in Snowpoint Temple depict villages pulverized under its strides, forests flattened like grass under a boot, seas parted by a single sweep of its arm. Its power was too vast, too unpredictable. One errant tug could unravel the continents it had so painstakingly assembled. Panic spread like frost across Sinnoh's tribes. They saw a titan whose whims could eclipse the sun or drown empires. In desperation, they marshaled their shamans and warriors, crafting seals from rare relics and Pokémon energies, luring the Colossus into the temple's abyss during a moment of weary repose after its labors. There, in the deepest chamber, they bound its eyes with shadowed cloth to blind its world-shattering gaze, wrapped its limbs in chains forged from the giant's own materials, and invoked chants that sapped its strength into dormancy. Regigigas slumbered, but not without a final, earth-shaking bellow that snowed the temple under for millennia. The ancients scattered its creations, Regirok to Hoenn stone labyrinths, Regis to icy ruins, Registeel to steel-clad vaults, hoping distance would prevent reunion, that no foolhardy soul would ever tame the trio and command the awakening of their colossal parent. Even in sleep, echoes of Regigigas might ripple through Sinnoh. Trainers who rouse it in the temple's core face a berserk fury, its slow start ability crippling it briefly before unleashing normalized stats that rival gods. 150 base attack, moves like heavy slam that scale with its impossible weight, and a presence that makes the ground tremble. Folklore ties it to every unexplained quake, every shifted boulder, a reminder that the architect's chains hold only so long. But those scattered giants, locked away in distant chambers across Hoenn, whisper of a contingency plan etched in prophecy. Unite them, and the Colossus stirs once more. What secrets do those sealed doors guard, and who dares turn the key? Find out next in Chapter 12, The Sealed Chambers. With Regigigas locked away in the icy heart of Snowpoint Temple, ancient humans turned their gaze southward to the sun-baked shores of Hoenn. They knew the Colossus's power alone could reshape mountains into dust, but its three towering progeny, Regirok, Regis, and Registeel, posed an equal threat if left unchecked. Fearing these giants might one day reunite with their maker and unleash devastation upon the world, the people devised a desperate safeguard: isolation. They transported the trio across vast oceans, sealing each one in remote chambers scattered across Hoenn's wildest corners, far from one another and from any path to Sinnoh. This separation wasn't mere banishment. It was a calculated measure for humanity's protection, ensuring no single force could command all three at once, and thus no easy key to awakening the slumbering Regigigas itself. Deep in the arid heart of Route 111, where the desert winds carve endless dunes under a relentless sun, lies the desert ruins. Buried beneath layers of scorching sand, this ancient stone labyrinth guards Regirok, the immovable titan forged from the raw, unyielding earth itself. Its body gleams with jagged boulders fused into limbs of pure rock, veins of granite pulsing like frozen rivers through a frame that defies erosion. To breach its sanctum, seekers must decipher the faded braille inscriptions etched into the walls, messages from a forgotten era, their raised dots whispering secrets in a tongue long lost to time. First comes the rock. They read, guiding you to mimic the patterns with precise steps. Stand before 7 stone markers arranged in a 7x7 grid, then shift just 2 into place to align the seals. Fail, and the chamber remains entombed. Succeed, and the ground trembles as massive doors grind open, revealing the giant silhouettes stirring from millennia of sleep. Picture the dust-choked air thickening as you descend, the braille's tactile riddles brushing against your fingertips like echoes of the ancients' dread. Regirok doesn't awaken easily. It demands the full ritual, a choreography of movement born from lore passed down through Hoenn scribes. You light the braziers in sequence, their flames licking shadows across walls inscribed with warnings. Dig here, and beyond this rock wall. Only then does the earth heave, and Regirok rises, its rocky hide cracking like thunder, eyes igniting with a primal glow. This wasn't arbitrary cruelty toward the giant. It was humanity's bid to forge a leash, hoping a worthy tamer could claim its loyalty and wield it against greater perils. Far across the waves, on a jagged isle battered by Hoenn's tempests, the island cave cradles Regis in eternal frost. This glacial behemoth shuns the warmth of the surface, its translucent form sculpted from the purest ice, crystalline shards interlocking into armor that laughs at fire and steel alike. Compressed under unimaginable pressure in some primordial glacier, its body harbors air bubbles older than civilizations, frozen mid-breath from a world long thawed. The braille puzzles here cut deeper into the psyche. Stop and wait for the sign, commands one passage, while another urges, release at once if you match the pattern. Navigate the watery depths flooding the cave's antechamber, align the dots on submerged panels 2 steps forward, a pause, then 7 to unlock the inner vault. The ritual unfolds in chilling symmetry. Mirror the inscriptions with your own path, extinguishing false lights until the true seal yields. As the ice walls groan and fracture, Regice emerges, exhaling blizzards that numb the soul, its form a walking winter that could entomb cities in seconds. These puzzles weren't games for thrill seekers, they tested resolve, weeding out the unworthy before granting access to power that could shatter coastlines. The ancients etched these trials, knowing the giant's fury might one day serve protectors, but only if bound by those pure of intent, a firewall against misuse that could doom humanity anew. Deeper still in the humid wilds of Route 120, shrouded by ancient tombs' oppressive gloom, Registeel awaits in the ancient tomb. Unlike its siblings, this ironclad sentinel defies nature's elements, its chassis hammered from steel, tempered in magma's furious heart, molten rivers cooled in an instant, forging a hide impervious to blade or blaze. Alloys unknown to modern forges gleam through its segmented torso, riveted plates humming with latent energy drawn from Earth's molten core. The braille here grows cryptic, almost mocking, with new time, hope and love aim rearward, puzzles one slab, demanding you face backward to trigger hidden mechanisms. Align the dots in reverse, light the quartet of braziers flanking the entrance, and endure the rising heat as doors part like jaws of a forge. Registeel stirs amid sparks and steam, its magnetic gaze pulling metal from the air, body radiating the forge heat of creation. This complex ritual, braille decoded, fires kindled, patterns inverted, ensured only the most perceptive could rouse it, a final layer in the isolation designed to shield the world. By scattering these giants across Hoen's extremes, desert blaze, oceanic chill, jungle swelter, the ancients created a triad of trials, each echoing their essence. Rock's steadfast grind, ice's piercing clarity, steel's unquenchable forge fire. United, they formed Regigiz's perfect counterbalance. Yet divided, they slumbered as humanity's unwitting sentinels. Whispers persist among Hoen's ruins that taming all three unlocks a hidden resonance, a call that might one day pierce Snowpoint's depths. But the seals hold firm, their braille guardians eternal, protecting not just the giants, but the fragile balance they were born to uphold. These chambers stand as testaments to fear turned to foresight, where isolation became salvation. Yet the legends of these colossal guardians evolve further, revealing kin forged in eras unseen. Up next in the modern giants, discover how two electrifying newcomers shatter the ancient trio's mold, pulling the Regi saga into realms of lightning and dragonfire you never imagined. Those ancient braille puzzles in Hoen's sealed chambers unlocked, Regiroc's unyielding stone body, Regice's crystalline frost armor, and Registeel's magma-forged alloy frame, each a testament to Regigiz's raw engineering from the Earth's deepest elements. But whispers among Sinnoh's elders hinted at more, titans not born from rock or ice or metal, but from forces even wilder, hidden across oceans and ages. Centuries after those Hoenn guardians stirred, the Pokémon world shifted again. In the sprawling region of Galar, adventurers pushed beyond the misty peaks of the wild area, braving blizzards that howled like vengeful spirits. There, nestled in the shadow of Mount Coronet, or so some maps insisted, though geography bent strangely in legend, they stumbled upon the Crown Tundra. This icy expanse, a DLC realm unlocked in Sword and Shield, sprawled under perpetual auroras, its glaciers carving labyrinths of blue-white spires that pierced storm clouds. Dynalite danced across the snow, revealing ruins etched with unfamiliar runes, half-buried relics from an era when continents still drifted like colossal icebergs. It was here, amid the discovery of the Crown Tundra, that the Regi lineage expanded in ways no scholar anticipated. Peony, the intrepid expedition leader, rallied trainers to chart this frozen unknown, unearthing not just fossils of ancient beasts, but temples pulsing with otherworldly energy. Deep within, two new colossal forms slumbered, Regieleki and Regidrago, siblings forged by the same architect, yet pulsing with powers that defied the elemental purity of their predecessors. Regieleki emerged first, a living dynamo of concentrated electricity. Imagine a frame not of rock or steel, but translucent gel cradling billions of crackling electrons, its body a perpetual storm contained in geometric perfection. Legends say Regigigas harvested pure electric energy from the planet's core, compressing it into this frantic guardian, the electric Pokémon they called it. Its eyes glow with frenetic yellow light, and when it moves, the air ionizes, leaving ozone's sharp tang and sparks that leap like predatory eels. In battle, Regieleki unleashes Thunder Cage, trapping foes in electromagnetic webs, or plasma fists that punch with raw voltage, base speed hitting 200, making it the fastest Regi ever sculpted. No wonder ancient Galarians revered it as a harbinger of tempests, its presence charging the tundra's winds into lightning symphonies that shattered boulders and birthed new crevasses. Not far off, in a vault carved from obsidian scales, lay Regidrago, the embodiment of concentrated dragon energy. This behemoth's form twists like a draconic knot, its yellow hide etched with jagged red ports that vent primal fury. Regigigas, it seems, drew from the world's latent dragon essence, perhaps siphoned from meteorites or volcanic ley lines, to birth this destroyer Pokémon. 4 ports on its body channel blasts of dragon energy, a signature move that hammers with untyped force mimicking draconic might. Legends paint it rampaging through the tundra eons ago, scales rattling like thunder, breath scorching snowfields into glass. With a base attack of 210, it crushes rivals in table turn, flipping battle momentum, or unleashes Dragon Hammer to pulverize defenses. Trainers who awakened it felt the ground quake, as if ancient grudges stirred in its core. To claim these modern giants, explorers solved riddles mirroring Hoenn's trials, but laced with Galar's flair, aligning mirrors in the giant's mirror, fusing relics in the rock peak ruins. Regieleki demanded the electric positive and negative relics, sparking to life in a blaze of arcs. Regidrago required dragon fangs and scales, roaring forth in a whirlwind of fangs and claws. Yet their addition begged a profound riddle. Why did Regigigas, the continent-towing Colossus sealed in Sinnoh's Snowpoint temple, craft these new guardians in a distant region, far from Hoenn's continental heart? Scholars pore over faded tapestries in the crown tundra's frigid sea, where ice flows whisper of Regigigas' wanderings. Did it sense new threats brewing in Galar's volatile energies, the same forces that would one day birth Eternatus's darkest day? Or was the tundra a testing ground, a remote forge for experimental power unbound by earth, ice, or metal? Some etchings depict Regigigas hauling massive crystals across frozen seas, infusing them with electricity siphoned from auroral storms and dragon aether from abyssal rifts. Perhaps Hoenn's originals guarded the land's foundation, while these modern giants patrolled its volatile skies and depths, adapting to a world where primal reversion and mega-evolution hinted at endless evolution. The Regi lineage now spanned 5, a pentagon of titans echoing Regigigas' vision of stewardship. Regieleki zipped through blizzards, electrocuting invasive swarms. Regidrago coiled in cavernous lairs, deterring deep earth upheavals. United, they evoked the architect's dream, harmony through overwhelming force. But fractures lingered. Why seal these two apart from their kin, in a land untouched by Hoenn's ancient humans? Whispers from Dynamax's dens suggest Regigigas foresaw a schism, guardians for an era when continents stabilized, but energies raged unchecked. As the crown tundra's secrets settled into legend, eyes turned northward to shimmering lakes guarding minds against cosmic dragons. In Chapter 14, Sentinels of the Mind uncover how 3 elusive spirits born from Arceus itself watched over time and space, their fragile forms holding the key to averting universal unraveling. What fragile watchers could bind titans like Dialga and Palkia? While the colossal forms of Regieleki and Regidrago channeled raw electricity and dragon energy across the frozen expanses of the crown tundra, A quieter power stirred in the mist-shrouded lakes of Sinnoh, where ancient waters hid guardians not of stone or storm, but of the intangible essence that defines us all. Deep within Lake Acuity's crystalline depths, Uxie slumbers, its golden body coiled like a forgotten pearl, eyes closed in eternal contemplation. Across the region in Lake Verity's rippling embrace, Mesprit drifts, a pink wisp of feeling, pulsing with the unspoken joys and sorrows of every heart. And at Lake Valor, Azelf hovers, blue and resolute, a spark of unyielding determination etched in its gaze. These three, the Lake Trio, embody forces that no earthquake or thunderbolt could rival, for they hold the keys to what makes humanity more than mere survivors in a world of legends. Arceus, the original one, forged Uxie, Mesprit and Azelf from the dawn of creation itself, breathing life into them to bring balance to the human spirit. Picture the newborn world, still raw from the emergence of time and space, where early humans wandered like shadows, adrift without direction or depth. Arceus saw their fragility, their potential to crumble under chaos, and so shaped these Sentinels from pure psychic essence, each one a pillar to steady the soul. Uxie, the knowledge Pokémon, grants clarity of mind, unraveling the veils of ignorance that blind us to truth. Mesprit, the emotion Pokémon, infuses the heart with feeling, weaving bonds of empathy and passion that bind communities across generations. Azelf, the willpower Pokémon, ignites the inner fire, fueling resolve to overcome the impossible, turning whispers of doubt into roars of triumph. This is the Lake Trio's gift to humanity: knowledge, emotion, and willpower, bestowed not as thunderous boons, but as subtle threads woven into our very being. Legends whisper that without Uxie's wisdom, societies would stagnate in superstition. Without Mesprit's emotions, isolation would devour us. Without Azelf's will, ambition would wither into apathy. In Sinnoh's myths, etched on cavern walls and recited by elders under aurora-lit skies, these gifts arrived like morning mist over the lakes, seeping into the dreams of the first people. A fisherman at Lake Valor might suddenly find the strength to mend his shattered boat after a storm, crediting Azelf's unseen nudge. A scholar in Celestic Town deciphers forgotten runes, eyes gleaming with Uxie's borrowed insight. Lovers parted by war reunite, drawn by Mesprit's invisible pull. These interventions are never overt, no cataclysmic displays, but quiet miracles, ensuring humanity evolves in harmony with the world Arceus dreamed. Yet beneath their benevolent watch lies a hidden duty, as the watchers of the dragons of time and space. Dialga, the colossal arbiter of moments, and Palkia, the shaper of dimensions, wield powers that could unravel reality with a single breath. The Lake Trio stands as their unseen wardens, psychic tendrils extending from the lakes to monitor these titans, ready to intervene if imbalance threatens. Sinnoh's lore hints at this vigil in the ruins of the Spear Pillar, where murals depict ethereal figures encircling draconic silhouettes, eyes alert against the void. Uxie calculates the ripples of time's flow. Mesprit senses the emotional tremors of spatial distortions, as Azelf enforces the willpower to maintain order. They are the mind sentinels, fragile in form yet unbreakable in purpose, ensuring the dragons might serve creation, not destruction. Their homes reflect this duality, serene surfaces hiding profound mysteries. Lake Acuity freezes even in summer, a mirror to Uxie's cool intellect, where diving too deep risks losing yourself in infinite thoughts. Lake Verity teems with life, its waters alive with Mesprit's vibrant energy, drawing dreamers who awaken forever changed. Lake Valor boils with latent fury, Azelf's domain, where battles rage eternally in spirit if not in flesh. Trainers who seek them must navigate not just geography, but puzzles of the psyche, braille inscriptions on cavern floors that demand knowledge, emotional trials in hidden grottos, tests of will against illusory foes. Capture one, and the others sense it, fleeing like echoes across the region, their bond as intertwined as the traits they guard. In Pokémon Diamond and Pearl, their essence pulses through the land, felt in every Pokémon battle where strategy meets heart, meets grit. But whispers from the distortion world suggest deeper ties, where Giratina lurks, jealous of their balanced vigilance. The Celestica people, ancient nomads of Sinnoh, revered them as almighty Sinnoh's emissaries, offering pearls and psionic chants at lunar festivals to honor the gifts. Even today, in the game's code, their presence alters the world subtly. Wild Pokémon grow bolder near the lakes. Humans report uncanny inspirations. This delicate equilibrium held for eons, until a shadow fell over Spear Pillar, where human ambition sought to chain the dragons themselves. That chilling saga, known as Chapter 15, the Red Chain Incident, unfolds next, revealing how the Lake Trio's powers were twisted in a bid to unmake the world. Those serene lakes of Sinnoh, cradles of knowledge, emotion and willpower, held a fragile peace shattered by the ambitions of one man. Cyrus, the enigmatic commander of Team Galactic, viewed the world's imperfections, its chaos of feelings, its unpredictable hearts, as flaws begging for erasure. He didn't seek conquest or riches. He dreamed of annihilation and rebirth, a flawless universe born from nothingness, stripped of the very spirits the Lake Trio embodied. Cyrus's vision was chilling in its precision. He believed humanity and Pokémon alike were trapped in a cycle of suffering, emotions clouding pure logic, willpower twisted by desire, knowledge hoarded by the unworthy. To forge his new universe, he targeted the Lake Trio directly, plotting to harness their collective energy as the key to bending reality itself. Uxie from Lake Acuity, with its piercing intellect. Mesprit from Lake Verity, the whirlwind of raw feeling. Azel from Lake Valor, the unyielding force of resolve. These three, woven into the fabric of existence by Arceus, would fuel his ultimate weapon. It began under cloaks of night at Lake Verity, where Team Galactic's grunts swarmed like shadows across the misty waters. Mesprit, the guardian of emotion, sensed the intrusion first, ripples of cold intent disturbing her domain. Cyrus's scientists deployed strange devices, pulsating with otherworldly energy, luring her into a trap. She fought, her psychic pulses sending waves crashing against the shore, but the corruption took hold. A sickly red glow seeped into her form, twisting her vibrant pink aura into something profane, her joyful essence muted into hollow obedience. Not far off, at Lake Acuity's frozen expanse, Uxie met a similar fate. The lake's surface, a mirror of endless intellect, cracked under the assault. Cyrus's machines hummed with stolen data patterns, disrupting Uxie's flawless mind. She unleashed barriers of pure thought, illusions that bent light and space, but the invaders pressed on. Injected with a synthetic toxin derived from forbidden research, her yellow body dulled, eyes glazing over as corruption chained her wisdom to Cyrus's will. Lake Valor burned next, Azelf's fiery willpower clashing against the encroaching darkness. The water boiled with her rage, steam rising like vengeful spirits, as grunts encircled the island shrine. She shattered their machines with telekinetic blasts, boulders hurtling skyward, but Cyrus had anticipated this. A containment field sapped her strength, the red corruption manifesting as thorny veins across her blue frame. One by one, the Guardians fell, their energies funneled into a central forge hidden in Galactic's Veilstone headquarters. There, in the sterile glow of laboratories, the corruption reached its horrifying peak. The Lake Trio, now spectral prisoners hovering in energy cages, had their essences distilled. Knowledge, emotion, willpower, stripped, purified, recombined into a single artifact. It materialized slowly, threads of crimson plasma weaving together, pulsing with stolen life. The red chain, a physical manifestation of their bound powers, took shape. 3 interlocking links, each echoing one guardian's domain, glowing with an unnatural hunger. This chain wasn't mere metal, it was a conduit to control the lords of time and space themselves, Dialga and Palkia, whose clash could unravel the stars. Armed with the red chain, Cyrus ascended Spear Pillar, the ancient plateau piercing Sinnoh's clouds like a dagger to the heavens. Winds howled through fractured pillars etched with primordial runes, the air thick with distortion as he chanted incantations from lost texts. Dialga or Palkia, depending on the path of fate, materialized in a rift, their colossal forms warping reality, time slowing or space folding at their roar. Cyrus flung the red chain, its links snapping around the dragon's neck, forcing submission. Portals yawned open, glimpses of void beyond, where his new universe waited perfect, emotionless, eternal. But the Lake Trio's spirits endured beneath the corruption. As you, the trainer drawn into this cosmic fray, confronted Cyrus atop the storm-lashed pillar, they stirred. Mesprit's emotions surged first, a torrent breaking her bonds. Uxi's knowledge pierced the chain's weaknesses, as Elf's willpower shattered the links entirely. In a blaze of psychic fury, they unleashed a combined pulse, the red chain disintegrating into red motes that scattered like dying embers. Dialga and Palkia roared free, their energies stabilizing, sealing the rifts. Cyrus's dream crumbled, the current reality preserved not by force alone, but by the very human spirit he'd sought to erase. The Guardians retreated to their lakes, weakened but unbroken, their gifts to humanity reaffirmed in the face of oblivion. Spearpillar fell silent once more, a testament to balance restored, where the mind's triumvirate proved no chain could fully bind the essence Arceus had bestowed. Yet, as Sinnoh exhaled in relief, whispers of elemental fury stirred in distant lands. Up next, Chapter 16. The Forces of Nature, where tempests and thunderclaps awaken forces that could reshape the skies themselves. As the dust settled atop Spearpillar in Sinnoh, with the red chain shattered and Cyrus's dream of a flawless world crumbling into nothingness, the Pokémon world's fragile balance shifted focus far to the east. Unova's vast plains and turbulent skies cradled their own enforcers of harmony, beings born not from divine intellect, but from the raw fury of the elements themselves. Tornadus and Thunderous stand as the chaotic spirits of wind and lightning, in Unova, eternal rivals whose battles scar the land with unrelenting tempests. Picture the gales howling across the Drift-Vale drawbridge, where Tornadus whips up cyclones that uproot ancient oaks and hurl boulders like pebbles, his serpentine body twisting through thunderheads with a cyclonic roar that drowns out all reason. Not to be outmatched, Thundurus descends in crackling fury, his elephantine form crackling with plasma as bolts fork from his horns, igniting grasslands into infernos and shattering mountainsides. Legends whisper of their ancient grudge, sparked eons ago when their clashes first tore open the skies, flooding rivers until they burst their banks and burying villages under debris. Farmers in the rural heartlands still speak of nights when the air thickens with ozone, a prelude to their rampage, as if the heavens themselves wage war without mercy or end. Yet chaos demands a counterforce, and from the fertile earth rises Landorus, the great marshal who punishes those who disturb the soil. This majestic guardian, with his crimson mane and spade-like arms, emerges when the duo's destruction runs too deep, tilling ravaged fields back to life with seismic thrusts that coax seeds from barren dirt. Unovan folklore paints him as the arbiter of the land's bounty, his arrival marked by earthquakes that swallow the reckless, be they wrathful spirits, or greedy humans ploughing too deep, stripping the topsoil for fleeting gain. One tale from Abundant Shrine recounts a village elder who defied warnings, over-farming until the ground cracked like shattered pottery. Landorus appeared at dawn, his vines coiling around the offender's tools before a tremor, reclaimed the excess earth, leaving the fields renewed but the man humbled forever. He doesn't merely restore, he judges, his golden calyx glowing as a verdict falls, ensuring the soil's sacred pact with growth remains unbroken. These three forces of nature manifest first in their incarnate forms, ethereal and humanoid, swirling with elemental rage like genies unbound from ancient lamps. Tornadus floats aloof, a cyclone-headed cyclone incarnate. Thundurus grins maniacally from his thundercloud perch. Landorus strides with regal authority, arms outstretched in command. But when harmony prevails, or through the revelation of hidden relics like the reveal glass, their essence shifts dramatically to the animalistic Therian forms, more primal, grounded in the beasts they truly embody. Tornadus shrinks into a sleek, avian predator with talons for shredding winds. Thundurus bulks into a charging, rhino-like juggernaut of storm. Landorus transforms into a quadrupedal plough beast, his body a living harrow that churns earth effortlessly. This transition unveils their deeper truth. Not distant deities, but integral threads in nature's wild tapestry, awakened fully only when the land calls for their unfiltered might. In Pokémon Black and White, seekers must chase these roamers across Unova's routes, their silhouettes vanishing into blizzards or downpours, a test of patience mirroring the unpredictability they embody. The anime amplifies their legend, showing Tornadus and Thundurus' feud escalating until Landorus intervenes, calming the storm with a seismic pulse that binds their powers in truce. Even in battles, their synergy shines, unleashed together. They evoke the primal dance of weather's wrath and renewal, their moves like hurricane, thunder, and earthquake weaving devastation into fertility. But whispers from distant eras hint at unrest among these forces, a seasonal shift long suppressed that promises to upend their trio dynamic entirely. What happens when a fourth arrives, embodying the bloom of spring itself? You'll uncover that revelation in Chapter 17, the 4th season, where Unova's guardians face their most profound evolution yet. Landorus roams the vast plains of Unova, his earthen might restoring order wherever the reckless winds of Tornadus and the furious storms of Thundurus leave devastation in their wake. But ancient whispers from beyond Unova's borders hint at a deeper harmony, a balance that once included a fourth presence, long lost to time. Deep in the mists of the Hisui region, that ancient land now known as Sinnoh, explorers uncovered the truth. Enamorus, the ethereal embodiment of spring's tender embrace, revealed at last after centuries of obscurity. Picture the rugged peaks and shimmering lakes of Hisui, where the air hummed with untamed energies during the era of Pokémon legends, Arceus. The people there, the Hisuians, spoke in hushed tones of noble warriors and divine emissaries who shaped the seasons themselves. It was in this primordial wilderness that Enamorus first emerged from legend into reality, not as a destructive force, but as a gentle harbinger of renewal. Her form, delicate yet radiant, fluttered on wings that scattered cherry blossoms and awakened dormant life from the frost-kissed earth. Crafted from pure fairy essence intertwined with the skies, she descended upon the land like the first warm breeze after winter's grip, her presence coaxing rivers to swell and fields to bloom in vibrant defiance of the cold. This revelation shattered the long-held belief that the forces of nature were merely a trio locked in eternal conflict and uneasy truce. Tornadus, the wild drifter whipping gales that uproot ancient trees. Thundurus, the tempestuous brute whose thunderclaps split the heavens and flood valleys. Landorus, the steadfast guardian diving from the clouds to mend the scarred soil with his seismic grace. They had always danced on the edge of chaos. Their battles ravaged Unova's countrysides, summoning cyclones and droughts that tested the resilience of trainers and villagers alike. Yet Enamorus' arrival painted a fuller picture, transforming their frenzied rivalry into a symphony of the seasons. With her integration, the dynamic of the forces of nature shifted profoundly, evolving from a volatile triad into a complete quartet that mirrored the eternal cycle of renewal. No longer did Tornadus' gales rage unchecked. Enamorus tempered them with blossoms that softened the fury, guiding winds to pollinate rather than destroy. Thundurus' lightning found purpose in her light, sparking growth instead of mere annihilation, as her fairy aura redirected bolts into nurturing rains. And Landorus, the great marshal, stood taller beside her, his earth-shaking authority now complemented by her regenerative touch, ensuring that punished soils not only healed but flourished anew. Together, they embodied wind, storm, earth, and love, the full spectrum of nature's moods, where destruction paved the way for creation and harmony reigned over discord. Folklore from Unova's elders preserved fragments of this lost unity, dubbing Enamoris the Herald of Spring, a divine figure who once graced their lands with promises of prosperity. Tales etched into weathered scrolls and passed down by firelight described her departure as a sorrowful exile, driven away by some cataclysmic rift between the forces. Perhaps it was the unchecked wrath of her companions, or a human folly that offended the balance. Accounts vary, but all agree she vanished eastward, her silhouette fading into the horizon as Unova plunged into harsher, incomplete cycles. Blossoms withered prematurely, springs arrived tardily, and the land mourned the absence of her loving vigilance. In Hisui, however, she found temporary solace, aiding the ancient clans against blizzards and barren winters. Her fans, delicate relics of woven silk and enchanted vines, wielded to summon barriers of petals that repelled even the fiercest gales. Enamoris's Therian Forme, a majestic evolution triggered by the reveal glass, reveals her true power, a colossal empress perched amid swirling vines, her gaze commanding the very essence of growth. In this state, she communes directly with the trio, her voice a melody that soothes their primal urges. Battles between the four now serve a grander purpose, not just pacification, but the orchestration of seasonal rebirth. Tornadus heralds autumn's rustle, Thunderous winter's fury, Landerous summer's bounty, and Enamoris, the delicate dawn of spring, each phase flowing seamlessly into the next, a testament to nature's intricate design. Yet echoes of her unoven roots linger in the modern era. Trainers who summon her incarnate form feel the pull of that ancient longing. Her playful dances amid cherry groves evoking a homecoming deferred. In competitive arenas, her addition elevates the quartet's synergy, with moves like Spring's Herald drawing strength from allies, turning chaotic skirmishes into coordinated spectacles of elemental grace. The forces of nature, once defined by absence, now pulse with wholeness, their legend richer for the fourth season's return. As we trace these shifting alliances, the story turns to noble guardians who wield blades not for conquest, but for justice against those who encroach on Pokemon's sacred domains. Next, in Chapter 18, the Swords of Justice discover the steel-hearted quartet that rises from shadowed moors to defend the innocent. What unbreakable vow forged them, and what trial nearly shattered their bond forever. While the forces of nature unleashed tempests and seasonal fury across Unova's skies and ancient Hisui lands, a far graver shadow loomed over the region's wild moors, where humanity's unyielding march clashed with the Pokémon who called those places home. 3 legendary warriors emerged from that darkness, their blades drawn not for conquest, but for justice. Cobalion, Terrakion, and Virizion, the Swords of Justice, stand as unyielding protectors of Pokémon against human expansion, their steel hearts forged in the fires of betrayal and loss. Picture the vast, mist-shrouded expanse of the Moor of Isiris, a place where thick grasses swayed under Unova's pale sun, home to herds of Pokémon living in fragile harmony. Humans arrived with axes and torches, clearing land for their settlements, their ambitions blinding them to the lives they uprooted. What began as scattered encroachments escalated into catastrophe. One fateful night, a blaze erupted, sparked by careless flames from a human camp, or perhaps deliberate arson to claim more territory. The fire raged unchecked, devouring the moor in a hellish roar, its orange tongues licking the sky as panicked Pokémon fled or perished in the inferno. The tragedy of the Moor of Isiris scarred the land forever, leaving ash-choked ruins and orphaned survivors, a grim testament to unchecked greed. From those smouldering remains rose Cobalion, the noble leader with a mane like polished steel and eyes burning with righteous fury. Just as the blaze had stripped away innocence, it ignited something unbreakable in him, a vow to shield the weak. Terrakion joined him next, a colossal figure of raw earth power, horns like battering rams honed by mountains, charging through the flames to rescue those trapped beneath collapsing earth. Virizion followed, graceful and swift as a verdant gale, her blades slicing through smoke to guide the lost to safety. Together, they witnessed countless Pokémon perish, their cries echoing into the night, and in that crucible of sorrow, their resolve hardened into an eternal oath. No longer would they tolerate the destruction of sacred habitats. Humanity's expansion would meet the edge of their justice. These three embody a code of honor as sharp as their names imply, drawing inspiration from the legendary Three Musketeers of old tales, bound by loyalty, chivalry, and an unbreakable pledge, one for all and all for one. Cobalion, the just and wise cavalier, leads with sacred swordplay, his steel and fighting essence a shield against tyranny. Terrakion, the indomitable rock of the group, embodies brute force tempered by compassion. His rock and fighting might shattering barriers that threaten the innocent. Virizion, the elegant grass knight, dances through battle with lethal precision, her speed a blur of green fury, defending nature's purity. They roam Unova's wilds as a trio, elusive guardians who intervene only when the balance tips too far, their presence a whisper of warning to those who encroach. Their legend pulses through Unova's folklore, whispered by trainers around campfires and etched in ancient ruins. Each shares a base stat total of 580, a mark of their peerless strength, rivaled only by certain legendary quartets in raw potential. Unlike the roaming beasts of Johto or the elemental titans of Hoenn, the swords make their stands in hidden sanctuaries, Victory Road's echoing caves for Cobalion, the craggy peaks of Route 8 for Terrakion, and the lush thickets of Route 10 for Virizion. There, they test worthy souls, not with blind rage, but with trials of heart and honor, ensuring only the pure of intent can glimpse their power. Yet their story carries a poignant undercurrent of isolation. Having lost so much to human hands, they view trainers with wary eyes, their trust earned only through deeds, not words. In battles they unleash signature moves like Sacred Sword, a gleaming arc that cleaves injustice, or Close Combat, a flurry honoring their musketeer bond. Pokémon media deepens this tapestry. In films and animations, they clash with machines exploiting Pokémon labor, their blades flashing in defense of the exploited. Games portray them as allies against greater evils, like Team Plasma's deceptions, mirroring real-world themes of environmental stewardship and coexistence. Deep in Unova's lore, their emergence ties to the region's primal conflicts where nature's champions rise against civilization's sprawl. The Moor's Fire wasn't just destruction, it was a turning point, birthing legends who patrol borders between worlds. Travelers speak of eerie nights when their cries pierce the fog, a call to arms for any Pokémon in peril. Cobalion's gaze pierces souls, judging intent. Terrakion's stomps shake the ground like earthquakes of retribution. Virizion's leaps leave trails of blooming life amid desolation. Together, they form a bulwark, their musketeer code demanding valor without vengeance, protection without domination. As their legend endures, whispers persist of a younger blade among them, one seeking to join their sacred ranks. That tale of trials, growth, and ultimate belonging unfolds in Chapter 19, The Apprentice's Path. What challenges await this aspiring sword, and how does it test the very honor these guardians uphold? Stay with me as we follow that blade's edge into the unknown. From the scorched earth of the Moor of Icyrus, where flames had claimed countless Pokémon lives and ignited the unbreakable bond among Cobalion, Terrakion, and Virizion, whispers spread across Unova of a fourth guardian stirring in the wilds. Keldeo, a young colt with a shimmering blue coat and horns like sharpened blades, had long admired these noble warriors from afar. Born into a world scarred by human greed, Keldeo felt the pull of their cause deep in its veins, a restless fire urging it to prove itself worthy of their ranks. You can almost feel the mist clinging to the craggy peaks where Keldeo first approached them, heart pounding like thunder over the plains. Cobalion, the leader with eyes like polished steel, regarded the newcomer with a gaze that pierced souls. Terrakion's massive frame shifted, cracking stone beneath its hooves, while Virizion's graceful form tensed, leaves rustling in an unseen breeze. They were the swords of justice, forged in tragedy to defend the weak against those who raised habitats without remorse. But Keldeo, it was untested, raw potential, wrapped in youthful bravado. Undeterred, the colt pleaded to train under their guidance, vowing to master the arts of battle that would allow it to join as the fourth member. Their path together began in hidden glens and forgotten ruins, where the air hummed with the clash of steel on stone. Keldeo's training under the swords of justice was no gentle mentorship. It was a crucible of endurance, day after relentless day. Dawn broke with Cabalion teaching precision strikes, each swing of its sword-like horn demanding flawless control to slice through gales without faltering. Terrakion followed at midday, barreling across rocky terrains, forcing Keldeo to match raw power with unyielding charge, muscles burning as boulders shattered in their wake. By twilight, Virizion wove lessons of agility through dense thickets, leaping between vines and shadows, honing speed that blurred the line between evasion and assault. Months blurred into years, scars etching Keldeo's hide as proof of trials survived, bonds deepening with every shared sunset over Unova's vast landscapes. Yet even as Keldeo grew stronger, a subtle divide lingered within the group, rooted in the ancient classifications that defined their essences. Cabalion, Terrakion, and Virizion stood as true legendaries, eternal sentinels woven into the fabric of the world's myths, their presence a constant force roaming the lands to right wrongs. Keldeo, however, bore the mark of a mythical Pokémon, rarer, more elusive beings whispered about in hushed legends rather than proclaimed in open tales. Legendaries like the Swords Trio appeared early in Pokédex chronicles, permitted in grand battles and towers where heroes tested their might. Mythicals, by contrast, hid toward the end of those tomes, barred from such arenas, their power too singular, too unpredictable for mortal competitions. This distinction set Keldeo apart, a protégé forever on the cusp, its mythical nature fueling both its drive and the trio's cautious hope that it could transcend its origins to fully claim a place among them. Through these grueling sessions, rumors filtered from ancient scrolls of a forbidden power reserved for the worthy, the secret sword technique. Keldeo chased it relentlessly, sparring until exhaustion claimed its limbs, horns glowing faintly under moonlight as fragments of the move flickered to life. The breakthrough came during a storm-swept night on a windswept cliff, encircled by its mentors. With a defiant cry, Keldeo unleashed the secret sword, a radiant blade of pure energy erupting from its horn, slicing through tempests like silk. In that instant, transformation surged through its body. Its form evolved into resolute Keldeo, resolute and armored horns elongating into a majestic crest, mane blazing like a warrior's cape, eyes sharpening with unassailable focus. No longer the timid colt, it stood tall, resolute form radiating the justice it had earned, ready to charge into battle alongside the swords. Now fully integrated, the quartet patrolled Unova's fringes, Keldeo's newfound might turning the tide against encroaching threats. Picture them thundering across meadows once doomed to vanish, secret sword flashing in unison with their signature strikes, a symphony of protection that echoed the Moor's lost cries. Humans who felled forests paused at tales of these four avengers, their resolve a living testament to redemption forged in fire and perseverance. Keldeo's journey didn't just complete the group, it embodied their creed, that even the youngest spark could ignite into a blade of justice. But what unites these guardians beyond blades and bonds? Their raw power, measured in a precise harmony of 580 base stats, a number shared only with certain elite quartets that command arenas worldwide. In the next chapter, The Power of 580 will uncover why this exact total sets them, and those mysterious rivals, apart as forces unmatched in the Pokémon world. Stay with me as we reveal the secrets behind that unbreakable edge. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. Keldeo's journey to master the sacred sword didn't just complete the swords of justice, it etched their place among a rare breed of Pokémon that trainers have long debated in hushed tones during late-night strategy sessions. All four share that exact base stat total of 580, a number that whispers balance in a world of overwhelming power. You're probably wondering why that figure matters so much, especially when so many other legendaries tower over it with 600 or more. It all comes down to the mechanical classification of legendary quartets, those harmonious groups of 4 that define competitive viability. These quartets aren't just lore-deep ensembles, they're engineered for the battlefield. Take the legendary birds from Kanto, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, with the roaming trio of Johto's beasts filling out similar patterns. Their 580 base stat total spreads evenly enough across categories to make them staples in high-level play. Speed hits around 90 or 100, attacks balance at 115, and defenses hold steady without crippling weaknesses. In competitive roles, they shine as versatile sweepers or walls, slipping into teams without dominating the meta. Unlike the godlike titans that warp entire formats, these quartets earn their spot through calculated design, letting trainers weave them into battle towers, VGC tournaments, and even casual leagues without breaking the game's spirit. Picture the chill of Articuno's blizzard clashing against Zapdos's thunderous dive in a simulated showdown. Their shared stats ensure neither overshadows the other, fostering rivalries that feel earned. The beasts follow suit, Raiku's blistering speed chasing Entei's raw firepower, Suicune anchoring with unyielding bulk. This isn't coincidence. Game Freak classified them as legendary quartets precisely because that 5080 threshold keeps them competitive yet contained. They appear early in their regional Pokédexes, signaling accessibility, and that's your first clue to their role. No endless grinding for the untouchable. But not every legendary group fits this mold. Enter the distinction between sub-legendaries and special Pokémon, a divide that trainers obsess over when building legal teams. Sub-legendaries, like the Swords of Justice or even the Lake Guardians from Sinnoh, hover in that sweet spot, powerful enough to roam wild or guard ancient ruins, yet tameable for battle facilities. Uxie, Mesprit, Azelf, their 580 total mirrors the quartets, with psychic prowess that checks dragons without upending formats. They're the Watchers Arceus tasked with balance, and in play they enforce it too, permitted because their stats demand skill to maximize. Special Pokémon though, they're the Exiles. Rayquaza, Kyogre, Groudon, these weather trio heavyweights lurk at the Pokédex's tail end, their 600 totals bursting with extremes like primitive power or mega evolutions that demand bans. Found in shrines or post-game odysseys, they're storybook forces, not tower staples. The Regi Giants straddle this line too. Regigigas hits 680, a special locked away in temples, while its creations like Regirock scrape by at 580, earning sub-legendary status in some circles. Why the split? Certain groups get the green light in battle facilities because their 580 caps prevent format ruin. Trainers can pivot around them, counter with strategy. The specials? Their inflated stats flood teams with inevitability, so they're sidelined to preserve fair play, echoing legends where unchecked power dooms worlds. Feel the weight of that temple seal on Regigigas, its colossal frame straining against stone, etched by ancient hands fearful of its might. The quartets roam freer, their balanced fury inviting challenge. Even the forces of nature, once a trio until Enamorus joined, flirt with this edge, Tornadus whipping gales at 115 speed, but their Therian forms nudge them towards sub-legendary utility. The Swords of Justice stand out here, the only non-quartet group matching that exact 580, their steel, rock, grass and water typing offering coverage that competitive minds crave. Cobalion leads with tactical poise, Keldeo's mythical edge, adding burst without myth-busting bans. This power of 580 isn't arbitrary. It's the heartbeat of Pokemon's competitive soul, classifying quartets as the reliable vanguard while sub-legendaries like the Lakes or Regi Trio provide niche depth. Specials remain mythic spectators. Their bans a nod to lore where gods clash cataclysmically. Trainers who've climbed battle tower floors know the thrill, a Zapdos sweeping remnants, Suicune stalling eternities, because these groups were built to be wielded, not worshipped. Yet shadows loom beyond Unova's moors where heroes forged in slumber await a darkness that once swallowed Galar whole. Tune in next for Chapter 21, The Darkest Day, and uncover how two wolves and an endless void nearly erased a region from existence. While those legendary quartets carve their legacies in the heat of competitive battles, with their perfectly balanced stats of 580 pulling players into endless strategies, Galar's own guardians stand apart, bound not by numbers in a Pokédex but by a cataclysm that nearly erased their world. 3,000 years ago, in the heart of what would become the Galar region, the sky tore open like a wound, unleashing an otherworldly force that hungered for every spark of life below. Eternatus, that colossal dragon from beyond the stars, stirred from its ancient slumber. Legends whisper it arrived as a meteorite long before, crashing into Galar's soil and burrowing deep, its extraterrestrial essence seeping into the earth like poison in a vein. For millennia it lay dormant, but on that fateful day, it awoke with a roar that shattered mountains and dimmed the sun. The awakening of Eternatus 3,000 years ago triggered the collapse of Galar's energy, draining the life force from rivers, forests, and Pokémon alike. Fields withered in moments, skies turned crimson, and the ground trembled as if the planet itself gasped for breath. Villages emptied as people fled shadows that moved with unnatural hunger, pulling vitality straight from the air. You can almost feel the chill of that endless dusk settling over the land, the way colors bled from the world, leaving only shades of grey and red. Pokémon, once vibrant companions, grew listless, their eyes hollow as Eternatus's influence spread like a plague. It wasn't mere destruction, this was absorption on a scale no one could fathom, a voracious entity rewriting the rules of existence by siphoning the very energy that fueled Galar's spirit. And then came the phenomenon of Dynamaxing, born as a cruel byproduct of that extraterrestrial radiation. Pokémon exposed to Eternatus's toxic glow began to swell, their bodies expanding to titanic proportions, towers of muscle and fury rampaging across the countryside. A humble Wooloo might balloon into a behemoth trampling homes, while a Corviknight blotted out the sky, its wings cracking stone with every beat. These weren't evolutions of power, but desperate mutations, fueled by the radiation particles flooding the atmosphere. Power spots erupted across Galar, glowing craters where the earth pulsed with unstable energy, turning wild battles into apocalyptic spectacles. Trainers who survived spoke of the ground quaking under feet the size of stadiums, roars echoing like thunder that never stopped, and the air thick with an electric hum that set teeth on edge. In the midst of this chaos, humanity teetered on extinction. The ancient kings of Galar, two brothers forged in the fires of desperation, rose to meet the nightmare. They weren't born to thrones. They were wanderers who had witnessed their families vanish into Eternatus's maw, their kingdom crumbling under waves of rampaging giants. Armed with rusted blades and unyielding will, they pressed into the heart of the storm, where the dragon coiled like a serpent devouring its tail. But blades alone couldn't pierce that armored hide, pulsing with stolen life. That's when Zacian and Zamazenta appeared, the wolfish legends of Galar, drawn from the misty fringes of the slumbering wield. Zacian, sleek and fierce with her rusted sword, embodied the bite of noble steel. Zamazenta, broad and unyielding with her shield of ancient iron, stood as the unbreakable wall. Together, they lent their might to the kings, transforming into crowned warriors, Zacian's blade gleaming with radiant power, Zamazenta's shield a fortress against the void. The battles raged for days, the ground scarred into canyons, the air alive with clashes that lit the darkened skies. The desperate struggle of the ancient kings to save their kingdom from total absorption pushed them beyond mortal limits. Picture them atop crumbling peaks, Eternatus's tendrils lashing like whips of pure shadow, Dynamaxed Pokémon swarming in blind fury. The kings channeled the wolves' power, their bodies aching from the radiation's burn, every swing buying precious seconds as Eternatus grew stronger, its core throbbing with the stolen essence of a dying world. Villages rallied behind them. Pokémon fought alongside, despite the madness, and in the end, with a final, earth-shattering strike, they forced the beast back into dormancy, sealing it deep underground where its whispers still echo. Victory came at a cost. Particles from Eternatus scattered like cosmic dust, embedding in Galar's power spots, granting mortals the gift or curse of dynamaxing their own partners. The kings, exhausted and forever changed, watched as Zacian and Zamazenta retreated to heal, their forms turning to stone amid the wield's fog-shrouded trees. Those heroes became the bedrock of Galar's legends, their tale etched into every stadium and story told by firelight. But the slumbering wield holds more than statues and silence. What mysteries guard the slumber of those ancient wolves, and why does the mist there still whisper warnings of days yet to come? You'll find out in Chapter 22, The Slumbering Wield. As the rampaging Dynamax Pokémon finally began to settle, their colossal forms shrinking back under the fading crimson skies of Galar, the true cost of the darkest day started to reveal itself. Eternatus, that colossal extraterrestrial serpent, lay defeated but not destroyed, forced into a deep slumber beneath the earth. Yet victory came at a price no legend could ignore. Two wolves, ancient guardians of the realm, had answered the call. Zacian, the sleek and fierce sword wolf, her blade-sharp mane gleaming like forged steel under the storm-torn heavens. Zamazenta, her steadfast counterpart, a hulking shield dog whose armored bulk could withstand the fury of collapsing mountains. They weren't mere beasts, they were the living embodiments of Galar's defiance, roused from eons of rest by the heroes who wielded them in battle. A young prince and his sister, they say, brother and sister bound by blood and fate, who rose from the ashes of their fallen kingdom to claim these legends as their own. Picture the battlefield if you can feel it through the mist of time. The ground scarred and pulsating with residual energy, the air thick with the metallic tang of Dynamax particles that would one day birth power spots across the region. Zacian darted like a silver streak, a scythe-like form cleaving through the chaos, while Zamazenta planted herself as an unbreakable bulwark, absorbing blows that would shatter armies. Together with the human siblings, they drove Eternatus back, piercing its core and sealing its poison away. But such power demands sacrifice. The wolves exhausted beyond measure, their forms flickering with the strain of channeling Galar's very life force, knew they could not remain. In the aftermath, as the siblings ascended to become the first kings of a rebuilt Galar, Zacian and Zamazenta turned toward the horizon. The slumbering wield called to them, a vast fog-shrouded forest on the region's edge, where ancient oaks twisted like petrified sentinels and the ground hummed with forgotten power. Legends whisper of their final steps, weary paws sinking into the mossy earth, their radiant fur dimming as they crossed the threshold into the mist. There, in the heart of the wield, they made their choice. No triumphant parade, no eternal vigil among the people. Instead, a selfless retreat, a vow to slumber until the world needed them once more. Their sacrifice ensured peace, but at the cost of their freedom, eternal watchers in the shadows, ready to awaken only if darkness stirred again. Time, that relentless eroder, worked its quiet magic on the slumbering wield. What were once living legends, pulsing with heroic vitality, faded into myth. Explorers who braved the mist in later centuries found only echoes, a massive stone statue of a wolf wielding a sword, half buried in vines and weathered by rain. Another, a shield-bearing guardian, rusted at the edges, its once gleaming armor pitted and overgrown. Forgotten artifacts, they became relics mistaken for ancient carvings by those who stumbled upon them. The people of Galar, grateful but forgetful, built their cities and stadiums far from the wield, letting the tales gather dust like the statues themselves. Swords dulled, shields tarnished, the wolves slept on, their legend reduced to bedtime stories and faded tapestries in royal halls. This slumber carries echoes of older tales, ones that cross oceans and centuries. Think of the sword plunged deep into unyielding stone, waiting for the worthy king to draw it forth. Zacian's form mirrors that mythic blade, a weapon incarnate that chooses its wielder in the hour of greatest need. And Zamazenta? She stands as the shield of the realm, the unbreakable defense of Arthurian kings, guarding the heart of Camelot against invaders unseen. Galar's legends didn't spring from nothing. They weave Arthurian threads into Pokemon's fabric. The crowned sword and shield, symbols of rightful rule, dormant until destiny calls. The siblings who wielded them became kings not by birthright alone, but by proving themselves worthy, much like the once and future ruler pulling Excalibur free. Deep in the Weald, the mist never fully lifts, a perpetual veil that disorients wanderers and hides the statue's watchful eyes. Some say the air grows heavier there, charged with the same energy that birthed Dynamaxing, a reminder that the wolf's power lingers just beneath the surface. Generations passed, kingdoms rose and fell, yet the slumbering Weald remained untouched, a sanctuary of rust and stone where living legends transitioned into silent sentinels. The rusted sword leans against moss-covered rock, its edge still keen in dreams. The shield cracks faintly with each passing storm but holds firm. And so Galar healed, its people harnessing the scattered Dynamax energies in their battles and spectacles, oblivious to the guardians who paid the ultimate price for that fragile peace. The Weald's fog swallowed their story, turning heroes into artifacts, until the modern age when bold trainers pierced the mist once more. But what happened when those statues stirred, donning crowns of legend to face the threat anew? That's the tale waiting in Chapter 23, The Crowned Forms. You won't want to miss how they transformed. Those rusted relics, the sword and shield left behind in the slumbering Weald, lay dormant for 3,000 years, their edges dulled by mist and time, waiting for the bloodline that could call them forth again. You can almost feel the chill of that foggy hollow where the statues of Zacian and Zamazenta stand sentinel, their stone forms etched with the scars of ancient battles, whispering promises of power to those worthy enough to listen. But Galar wouldn't stay at peace forever. In the shadow of stadium lights and roaring crowds, a new crisis brewed, one that echoed the darkest day with terrifying precision. Chairman Rose, driven by visions of energy shortages crippling the region, delved too deep into forbidden ruins beneath Hammerlock Stadium. He unearthed Eternatus once more. That colossal dragon of infinite energy, its body a writhing mass of purple scales and glowing cores, pulsing with the same extraterrestrial poison that had warped Pokémon into rampaging giants millennia ago. Dynamax energy surged unchecked, power spots across Galar erupting in crimson light, Pokémon swelling to skyscraper sizes, their roars shaking the earth as cities trembled under the onslaught. The air thickened with desperation. Heroes rose from unlikely places, you, the up-and-coming trainer, alongside your rival Hop, and even the disgraced Leon, stripped of his crown but not his fire. Yet, it was the pull of destiny that led you back to the slumbering Weald, through veils of impenetrable fog that parted only for those of the true lineage. The legends had foretold it, descendants of the ancient kings, carrying the spark of those long-ago saviors in their veins. There, amid twisted roots and howling winds, you found them, the rusted sword and rusted shield, artifacts not of mere metal, but infused with the essence of the wolves themselves. As your hand closed around the hilt of the rusted sword, a tremor ran through the ground, the blade igniting in a blaze of radiant steel. Zacian stirred from its statue slumber, her fur shimmering like polished platinum, eyes blazing with feral intelligence. She bounded forward, not as a wild beast, but as a knight forged for war, her form evolving in an instant. The crowned sword formed Zacian at her zenith, blade fused seamlessly to her body, wings of ethereal energy unfurling behind her. The air hummed with power, the scent of ozone and fresh forged iron filling your lungs as she acknowledged you, her rightful wielder, the restorer of her glory. Across the Weald, Zamazenta answered the call of the rusted shield. His massive frame cracked free from stone, coat gleaming like burnished copper, shield arm expanding into an impenetrable bulwark rime with runic engravings. The crowned shield form took hold, his stance unyielding as mountains, a guardian reborn to bash back the darkness. These weren't just Pokémon reuniting with trinkets, this was the artifacts awakening their masters, the wolves reclaiming their thrones after eons of exile. The Galar lineage, thought lost to history, proved alive in you and those who bore the hero's blood, trainers whose ancestors had wielded these very relics against the sky-falling terror. Together, you charged into the heart of the storm. Eternatus hovered above Hammerlock, its serpentine body coiling through storm clouds, unleashing blasts of Dynamax radiation that twisted reality itself. Zacian struck first, her blade cleaving the air with impossible speed. Behemoth Blade. That's what they called it in the ancient scrolls. A slash so potent it sundered Eternatus's defenses, the impact echoing like thunderclaps across the region, purple ichor spraying as the dragon recoiled in agony. The move wasn't just steel, it channeled the raw, boundless energy of Galar's core, amplified 100-fold, leaving gashes that no regeneration could seal. Zamazenta followed, shield raised like a battering ram from the gods. Behemoth Bash crashed home, a frontal assault of sheer unstoppable force, the shield glowing with crimson runes as it pummeled Eternatus into submission. You felt the shockwaves in your bones, the ground fracturing beneath the clash, debris flying like shrapnel from a cannon. These signature strikes, born of the crowned forms, turned the tide, Zacian's precision carving paths for Zamazenta's brute power, their synergy a dance of blade and bulwark that the legends had prophesied. Eternatus thrashed, summoning legions of wild Dynamax Pokémon, but the wolves held the line. Zacian's agility weaved through barrages of energy beams, her behemoth blade flashing again and again, while Zamazenta anchored the defense, his behemoth bash repelling waves of attackers with earth-shaking might. The battle raged through the night, the sky fracturing with explosions of light until Eternatus finally faltered, its core dimming as Rose's folly unraveled. Captured at last, the dragon was sealed away, its poison contained, Galar's power spots stabilizing once more. In the aftermath, as the dust settled and the crowds gathered in awe, the truth behind the hero of legend emerged from the shadows. For generations, bards sang of a singular champion, a lone figure who repelled the darkest day. But the runes on the artifacts told the fuller story. Two human heroes, brother and sister perhaps, wielding Zacian and Zamazenta in tandem. They weren't gods or immortals, but mortals whose courage mirrored the wolves' own, founding the Galar kingdom upon that victory. The restoration of the lineage wasn't just about blood, it was reclaiming that dual legacy, proving the hero was never one, but a quartet bound by fate, sword, shield, blade, and bash. The slumbering wield fell quiet again, the wolves retreating to their vigil, but their crowns gleamed eternal. And yet, across distant lands in Kitakami, another tale of masks and betrayal simmers, one that twists heroism into tragedy. Up next, Chapter 24, the tragedy of Ogrepon. As the dust settled over Galar's shattered stadiums, with Zacian and Zamazenta sealing Eternatus away once more through their crowned fury, the world of Pokémon turned its gaze to quieter corners, places where legends whisper rather than roar. Deep in the secluded valleys of Kitakami, a region cradled by jagged peaks and endless mists, another story unfolded, not of kings and blades, but of a solitary figure cloaked in masks, whose tale was buried under centuries of lies. You can almost feel the chill of those mountain winds, carrying echoes of ancient festivals where villagers don't teal masks and dance under lantern-lit skies. Kitakami's heart beats around the ogre's stone, a towering monolith etched with warnings of a rampaging beast. For generations, children grew up hearing the same grim fable. An ogre terrorized the land, hurling rocks and flames until three noble warriors, the Loyal Three, rose to slay it, saving the people forever. Statues gleam in the village square. Okidogi the poison-fisted brawler, Munkidori the scheming poison sage, Fezandipiti the dazzling poison peacock, forever frozen in heroic poses. But peel back those polished tales, and the hidden history of Kitakami reveals something far more heartbreaking. Long before those statues rose, Ogrepon wandered these slopes alone, a small sprightly creature with eyes like polished emeralds and a body wrapped in vines that shifted like living shadows. She wasn't born a monster. Isolation made her one. High on Ogre Mountain, shrouded in fog so thick it swallowed sounds, Ogrepon crafted her first mask from a fallen teal leaf, simple and serene, to shield her face from the world's harsh stare. It channeled her innate grassy essence, letting her blend with the wilds, tend to blooming fields in secret. She watched the village below with quiet longing, their laughter floating up like distant fireflies. One day, an old mask maker stumbled upon her, not with fear, but kindness. He saw her loneliness mirrored in his own, and gifted her 3 more masks, one forged from fiery embers pulled from a sacred hearth, another from the cool depths of a mountain spring, and the last from unyielding cornerstone rock. Each mask transformed her, awakening waters rush, fires blaze, earth's steadfast might. With them, Ogrepon stepped into the light, sharing harvests and warmth with the villagers who came to adore their masked friend during autumn festivals. Those masks weren't just adornments, they were pieces of her soul, conduits for powers that kept Kitakami thriving. The teal mask brought gentle rains to parched fields. The wellspring mask summoned healing torrents to mend the weary. Hearth flame ignited hearths against winter's bite, while cornerstone shielded homes from avalanches. Ogrepon danced among the people, her steps light as falling leaves, her presence a bridge between wild and human. Peace reigned, fragile but true, until outsiders shattered it. They called themselves the Loyal Three, wanderers from beyond the peaks, drawn by whispers of Kitakami's bountiful energies. Okidogi, brute strength laced with venom, Monkidori, cunning whispers dripping toxicity, Fezandipiti, hypnotic grace veined with poison. But they arrived weak, frail shadows of their glorified forms, envious eyes fixed on Ogrepon's radiant masks. In a betrayal as swift as a mountain storm, they ambushed her during a festival's peak. While villagers feasted, the 3 struck, ripping the elemental masks from her face one by one. Ogrepon fought back, her raw fury unleashed, vines lashing, claws rending, and in the chaos, the traitors fell, their bodies crumpling at the ogre's stone. She reclaimed her teal mask, fleeing to her mountain lair, heart scarred deeper than any wound. Yet death wasn't the end for the Loyal Three. Something twisted in Kitakami's shadows revived them, pumping their veins with a corrupting force that swelled their bodies and poisoned their grudge. Empowered beyond reckoning, they twisted the narrative in the village below. With masks in hand, they paraded as saviors, claiming the ogre had rampaged unprovoked, that they alone drove her off. The villagers, dazed by the Three's displays of stolen power, Okidogi shattering boulders, Monkidori weaving illusions, Fezandipiti dazzling with false lights, believed every word. History rewrote itself overnight. Ogrepon, the gentle guardian who shared her gifts, became the villain of every fireside tale, a rampaging ogre to be feared and hunted. The Loyal Three ascended to sainthood, their statues erected amid cheers, while Ogrepon huddled alone, her rage now a mask of its own, hearth flames burning hottest against those who wronged her. Feel the weight of that injustice echoing through the years. Every festival mocked her loss, every mask worn by children a reminder of theft. Ogrepon's sightings grew rarer, her attacks, born of desperation to reclaim what was hers, fueling the myth. The Loyal Three, perched in their shrine, glared down with eternal hatred, their grudge festering like untreated wounds. Only in recent times, through the eyes of a wandering trainer, did the truth surface. Peeling back festival veils revealed the mask's true origin, the Three's hollow heroism crumbling like weathered stone. Ogrepon emerged, not as monster, but survivor, her form shifting with reclaimed power, ready to set the record straight. But the shadows of that betrayal linger in the chains that birthed the Loyal Three's unholy revival. What dark artifacts bound their poisons and fueled their lies? We'll unravel that poison next in Chapter 25, The Toxic Chains. But those stolen masks weren't the only secret buried in Kitakami's shadowed valleys. The loyal three, Okidogi, Munkidori, and Fezandipiti, didn't rise to power through noble deeds or ancient blessings. Their strength came from something far more sinister, chains forged in toxicity that twisted their very essences. Deep in the region's forgotten orchards, where pecha berries once hung heavy and sweet on gnarled branches, a hidden figure pulled the strings. This enigmatic leader whispered about only in hushed village tales, as the pecha wielded an influence that seeped into the land like venom through soil. It wasn't some benevolent guardian of the groves. No, this was a being of cunning malice, a Pokémon whose berries masked a deadly allure. Under its sway, the three wanderers who would become the Loyal Three found those cursed toxic chains, gleaming links pulsing with a sickly purple glow, dripping with an otherworldly poison that promised power beyond reckoning. Picture the moment Okidogi, the burly fighter with fists like forged iron, first clasping a chain around its neck. The metal bit into its fur, not with pain, but with a rush that swelled its muscles, turning raw brawn into unstoppable force. Munkidori, sly and scheming, draped its chain like a poisoned necklace, its mind sharpening to a razor's edge, thoughts twisting into manipulative webs that could ensnare the purest hearts. And Fezandipiti, the graceful poisoner, let the chain coil around its elegant form, its feathers shimmering as toxins coursed through, granting it an aura of hypnotic dread that withered foes before they struck. These weren't gifts from the earth or the gods. The dark origins of Okidogi, Munkidori, and Fezandipiti's power lay in that corruption, a deliberate infusion from the pecha leader's hand. Empowered and enslaved in one fell stroke, they turned their newfound might against the one creature who had shared Kitakami's solitude without harm, Ogrepon. Driven by the chain's insidious whispers, or perhaps direct commands from their master, they stormed her misty home, ripping away the masks that hid her gentle face and fierce spirit. The village, blind to the truth, hailed them as saviors, erecting a grandest statue in their honor, while branding Ogrepon the monstrous ogre, a terror to be feared and shunned. Ogrepon fled into the deepest wilds, her world shattered. No longer could she wander the festivals in disguise, sharing laughs and mochi with the humans she cherished. Isolation became her cage, night after endless night spent huddled in cavernous hollows, her stolen masks taunting her from afar as the Loyal Three paraded their false glory. The chain's poison festered not just in their bodies but in the grudge they nursed, a burning hatred that outlived even death. For Ogrepon, in her rage and despair, struck them down one fateful evening, her raw power shattering their corrupted forms. Yet the toxic chains endured, reviving them in twisted resurrection, fueling an eternal vendetta that kept her forever on the run. Years blurred into legend, the truth entombed beneath layers of carved stone and village pride. The pecha leader lurked in the shadows, its influence a subtle rot spreading through Kitakami's heart, binding the trio tighter with every breath. Whispers of unease rippled through the elders, strange illnesses in the orchards, berries turning bitter overnight, but no one dared question the hero's tale. Then you arrive, a traveller from afar, drawn by the region's veiled mysteries. As the festival lights flicker and the air thickens with autumn chill, you uncover the fragments, a weathered scroll in a hidden shrine, tales from a lonely outcast, the glint of those ominous chains half buried in the earth. Piece by piece, the veil lifts. You confront the Loyal Three atop their pedestal of lies, their toxic auras flaring as the grudge reignites. But armed with Ogrepon's trust, earned through quiet acts of kindness amid the chaos, you stand with her. Fists clash against fury, poisons lash like whips, hypnotic gazes try to bend your will, yet justice surges forward. One by one, they fall again, the chains cracking under the weight of revealed truth. Okidogi's brute strength crumbles, Munkidori's schemes unravel, Fezandipiti's grace twists into defeat. Ogrepon reclaims her masks, donning them once more not in hiding, but in vindication. The village watches in stunned silence as the grand statue topples, the Petra leader's lair exposed in the depths of the berry fields, its reign of corruption laid bare. For the first time in centuries, Ogrepon walks free, her isolation ended, the toxic bonds severed by your hand. And as Kitakami breathes anew, free from those shadowed chains, we turn our gaze higher, to the cosmic forces that birthed even greater legends. Coming up in Chapter 26, the original ones reach, discover how a single entity's power echoes across every trio we've explored, pulling strings from the dawn of creation itself. What if one Pokémon held the key to them all? Stay with me. Those toxic chains may have twisted the loyal three into false heroes in Kitakami, granting them unnatural might under the Petra leader's shadow. But such borrowed power pales against the architect of existence itself. Arceus, the original one, stands alone as the master of multiple legendary groups, its influence weaving through the very fabric of time, space, and reality in ways no other being can claim. Born from the chaos of a primordial void, Arceus emerged not as a conqueror, but as the singular force that willed order from nothingness. Legends whisper of its awakening in the heart of what would become Sinnoh, where the world was little more than swirling energies clashing without purpose. With a single deliberate act, it shaped the foundations of the universe, forging the pillars that hold Pokémon reality together. Unlike the regional titans we've explored, the birds scorching skies over Kanto, the beasts thundering across Johto's plains, or even the weather deities clashing in Hoenn seas, Arceus commands legions of legendaries, its authority unchallenged and absolute. Picture the dawn of creation, not as a distant myth, but as a cataclysmic birth witnessed by no one and etched into the stones of Sinnoh's ancient temples. Arceus, in its boundless wisdom, recognized the need for guardians over the raw forces it had unleashed. From its own essence, it birthed the creation trio. Dialga, the temporal Pokémon, master of time, Palkia, the spatial Pokémon, sovereign of space, and Giratina, the renegade Pokémon, warden of antimatter and the distortion world. These three dragons weren't mere servants. They embodied the core laws Arceus decreed, their roars echoing the first heartbeats of the cosmos. Dialga crystallized time into an unbreakable flow, its diamond-hard body gleaming like frozen moments suspended forever. Legends say that without Dialga, past glories would unravel, futures collapse into oblivion, leaving only an eternal, now devoid of meaning. Palkia, vast and iridescent, stretched space into infinite dimensions, folding the world into the vast regions we traverse, from Kanto's bustling ports to Gala's misty wields. Its presence ensures that mountains stand firm and oceans part for the worthy. But Giratina, cast into exile for its violent nature, rules the inverted shadows where gravity twists and light devours itself, a grim counterbalance to keep creation from imploding under its own weight. These weren't random spawnings. Arceus crafted them with precision, embedding each with a fragment of its divine will. In the ruins of Sinnoh's spear pillar, murals depict the moment, Arceus hovering above a churning vortex, tendrils of light extending to sculpt the trio from pure energy. Dialga's metallic scales hardened first, ticking like the universe's clock. Palkia's form billowed outward, warping the air around it into portals that hinted at boundless realms. Giratina lashed out, even in birth, its ghostly wings shredding the veil between worlds until Arceus banished it to maintain harmony. Together, they form the bedrock of all legendary hierarchies, their powers invoked in every tale of cosmic upheaval, from Team Galactic's folly in Diamond and Pearl to the multiversal threats lurking beyond. Yet Arceus's reach extends further into the elemental heart of every Pokémon type through its 18 plates golden relics pulsing with primal energy. These aren't mere accessories. They are keys to omnipotence, allowing the original one to manipulate every elemental type in existence at will. Each plate channels a force, the flame plate igniting Infernos rivaling Entei's blaze, the splash plate summoning torrents to dwarf Kyogre's deluge, the fist plate crushing stone like Regirock underfoot. Arceus wields them interchangeably, shifting forms seamlessly, now a draconic blaze, then a spectral chill, embodying dragonfire one moment and fairy grace the next. Ancient Sinnoh texts, carved by the Celestica people who revered Arceus as Almighty Sinnoh, describe rituals where priests aligned plates in sacred arrays, invoking glimpses of the original one's true power. One plate for normal, grounding attacks in raw physicality, another for fighting, honing blows that shatter Regigigas's continental toes, electric for storms fiercer than Raiku's sprint. In battles of legend, Arceus has donned the Mind Plate to pierce thoughts like Uxie's gaze, or the Draco Plate to rival Rayquaza's ozone roar. These plates aren't static, they resonate with Arceus's intent, amplifying signature moves across groups, judgment raining divine retribution, recover mending wounds that felled gods, extreme speed outpacing the roaming beasts. This mastery sets Arceus apart, a conductor orchestrating trios from the late Guardians born to check Dialga and Palkia themselves, to the forces of nature bending tempests under its overarching gaze. No other legendary bridges such disparate domains. Ho-Oh revives beasts but doesn't birth Time Lords. Rayquaza mediates but can't warp space. Arceus's plates ensure equilibrium, a divine failsafe where fire tempers ice, ghost haunts steel, every type locked in eternal dance. As whispers of this cosmic order fade into Sinnoh's misty peaks, deeper layers of divine structure await, structures that pit gods against gods in chains of command older than the stars. In Chapter 27, the hierarchy of gods will ascend to those veiled thrones where Arceus's creations clash and conspire, revealing who truly kneels and who dares to rise. Arceus didn't stop at shaping the fabric of reality with Dialga's unyielding grip on time, Palkia's boundless stretch of space, or Giratina's chaotic swirl of antimatter. No, the original one peered deeper into the world's needs, crafting layers of guardianship that echo across every corner of the Pokémon realms. These aren't just random bursts of power, they form a deliberate hierarchy where cosmic titans loom above the fierce protectors tied to specific lands. Consider the regional guardians first, those elemental sentinels born to tame the wild forces of their homelands. In Kanto, the legendary birds, Articuno with its freezing gales that could shroud mountains in eternal ice, Zapdos crackling with storms that split the sky, and Moltres igniting infernos hot enough to melt stone, patrol the skies as nature's enforcers. They embody raw, localized fury, clashing against intruders who threaten the balance of seas, peaks, and volcanoes. Johto's legendary beasts roam freer still, Raikou thunderous paws shaking the earth, Entei's volcanic breath scorching plains, Suicune's auroral mist purifying tainted waters. Revived from the ashes of the brass tower by Ho-Oh's grace, they wander endlessly, their power a restless storm contained to Johto's borders. Hoenn sharpens this template with the Weather Trio, where Grudon heaves continents from the primordial ooze, its primal form awakening magma veins that pulse like the planet's heartbeat. Kyogre counters by summoning deluges that drown skylines, blue scales gleaming under endless rain, while Rayquaza coils in the ozone, mega-evolved jaws enforcing fragile peace between sea and land. These guardians scale mountains or flood valleys, but their might stays rooted, tied to the soil, skies and seas of one region. The Regigiants mirror this, colossal constructs hauled across oceans by their maker Regigigas, each Regirock grinding stone to dust, Regis entombing foes in unbreakable frost, Registeel shrugging off blows that would shatter gods. Even in far-off lands like Galar, Zacian and Zamazenta stand as wolfish wards, blades and shields rusted into statues until Eternatus stirs the darkest day, their crowned forms slashing through Dynamaxed hordes to safeguard one kingdom's energy. Now, stack those against the cosmic entities, and the gulf yawns wide. Dialga doesn't just weather a storm, it dictates the flow of seconds, halting time mid-blink or accelerating errors in a roar. Palkia warps distance itself, folding realms like paper, stranding armies in void pockets, or compressing oceans into droplets. Giratina twists antimatter into shadows that devour light, ruling the distortion world where physics unravels. These aren't defenders of dirt and wave, they underpin existence. Regional guardians might level a city or calm a typhoon, but cosmic ones rewrite the rules, time freezes, space rends, reality fractures. Arceus, at the pinnacle, channels all these forces at whim, its plates shifting to summon judgment bolts that mimic Dialga's roar of time or Palkia's spatial rend. The hierarchy reveals itself in clashes. Rayquaza mediates Grudon and Kyogre, but none dare challenge the creation trio. The Lake Guardians, Uxie guarding knowledge in Sinnoh's misty lakes, Mesprit stirring emotions' tempests, Azelf fueling willpower's flames, watch over Dialga and Palkia themselves, fragile psyches holding back dragons that could unmake worlds. Yet even they bow to Arceus, the architect who birthed them to maintain the chain. This pecking order sharpens in the Pokédex itself, a subtle map of divine order. Notice how the legendary quartets like those elemental pillars or justice swords cluster early in regional lists, their 580 base stats marking them as accessible titans permitted in battle towers where trainers test metal against metal. Cobalion, Terrakion, Virizion charge through human scars at Icirus Moor, Keldeo learning their blade dance, all reliable guardians for mid-game trials. But then come the special Pokémon, shoved toward the end game, banned from competitive arenas as if too volatile for mortal games. These are the wild cards, the Eon duo zipping through Southern Island skies, Latias and Latios, empowered by soul dews that amplify their dragon pulses to psychic tempests. The forces of nature whirl in Unova's tempests, Tornadus whipping cyclones, Thundurus hurling thunderbolts, Landorus quelling them with ground shakes, now joined by Anemoris's loving gales from ancient Hisui. Ogrepon, masked avenger of Kitakami, dances with stolen elemental fury, her ivy ball trouncing the corrupted loyal three who twisted toxic chains into false heroism. These endgame enigmas demand mastery, their lore hinting at powers that disrupt the board, roaming beasts evading capture, primal reversions shattering norms, mythical blades only for the worthy. What binds this sprawling ladder across oceans and eras? Arceus's invisible threads, weaving disparate regions into one cosmic tapestry. The original one, revered as Almighty Sinnoh by the Celestica Trailblazers, seeds its essence everywhere. It forges the Lake Trio to babysit its own creation dragons in Sinnoh, yet echoes ripple to Hoenn's sealed Regi chambers, ancient folk hoping to harness the giants against some greater sealed horror, Regigigas itself, power incarnate. Johto's beasts rise under Ho-Oh's wing, but Ho-Oh bows to legends tied to Arceus's dawn. Gala's darkest day scatters Eternatus's particles, birthing Dynamax from cosmic fallout, while Kitakami's folktale ogre mirrors distortions only a higher force could inspire. Unova's swords defend Pokémon homes, forces tame weather, but all pale before Arceus manipulating their signatures, time bending to thunder, space folding around volcanoes. Regions feel isolated, guardians clash in silos, yet Arceus's influence pulses beneath, linking Kanto's frozen spires to Paldea's shadowed loyalties, a singular will ensuring no land drifts into oblivion. Feel that pull now, as the hierarchy hints at something cyclical, an endless loop where gods rise, clash, and yield to keep the world spinning. In the next chapter, The Eternal Cycle, we'll unravel how these powers don't just stack, they revolve, birth, and rebirth in patterns that could reshape everything you've heard so far. Stay with me as the wheel turns. As we stand atop the hierarchy of gods, where regional guardians clash with cosmic entities, and those elusive special Pokémon linger at the tail end of every Pokédex like forbidden secrets, one truth burns clearest through the ages. The Pokémon world doesn't just tolerate these legends, it demands them, cycling eternally to enforce a delicate equilibrium. Consider the legendary birds, those elemental harbingers of storm and flame over Kanto's vast skies. Articuno's icy gales freeze rivers into crystalline bridges, Zapdos's thunder cracks the horizon like shattering glass. Moltres' wings trail embers that ignite forgotten forests. They weren't born in isolation. They emerged when humanity's first sprawling cities pierced the wilds, their fury a reminder that fire, frost, and lightning must dance in harmony. Unchecked ambition be damned. Then came the beasts of Johto, Raikou electric mane sparking across rain-slicked plains, Entei's molten paws scorching earth into fertile ash, Suicune's crystalline mane purifying poisoned streams with every graceful bound. Struck down in the brass tower's inferno, a monument to human hubris, they rose not as they were, but transformed by Ho-Oh's divine fire. Were they beasts before the blaze, or echoes of the land itself? The legends whisper both, but their endless roaming enforces the cycle, destruction breeds renewal, and nature reclaims what meddlers build. In Hoenn's primal depths, the weather trio embodies this rhythm most viscerally. Gruden's continent-shattering steps raise land from the sea, drowning Kyogre's endless floods in turn, until Rayquaza descends from the ozone layer, its megaform a serpentine blade slicing through chaos. Primal reversions peel back eons, revealing their raw, untamed origins, superheated magma veins pulsing in Gruden's hide, abyssal pressures crushing Kyogre's scales. Humans awaken them with red and blue orbs, artifacts forged in forgotten wars, only for Rayquaza to intervene, restoring the world's breath. Balance isn't gentle, it's a cataclysmic tide. Even the Eon duo, Latias and Latios, guardians of Southern Island's mist-shrouded shores, pulse with this order. Their soul dews amplify psychic veils that shield hidden truths, emerging when explorers' ships breach sacred waters. The giants follow suit, Regiroc's stone fists pounding continental shelves, Regis's glacial heart freezing time itself, Registeel's alloy body unyielding as forged stars. Regigigas, their colossal progenitor, slumbers in Snowpoint Temple, sealed by ancient hands fearing its power. Yet as Crown Tundra's ice cracks under modern boots, Regieleki's electric torrent and Regidrago's draconic fury awaken, pulling the continental behemoths back into motion. Sinnoh's late guardians watch from crystalline waters, Uxie cradling knowledge in fog-veiled lakes, Mesprit stirring emotions' wild currents, Azelf igniting willpower's unquenchable spark. Born of Arceus to tether Dialga's ticking gears and Palkia's warping voids, they shatter Cyrus's red chain atop Spear Pillar, where human ambition summons galactic ruin. Team Galactic's machines hum with stolen essence, but the trio's united cry echoes through dimensions, mending the tear. Unova's forces of nature whip tempests into frenzied ballets. Tornadus's gales uprooting cities, Thundurus's bolts chailing the sky, Landorus calming the carnage with earthen grace. Enamorus joins later, her floral graces blooming amid the storm, a fourth voice in the whirlwind. The swords of justice charge through more of Isirus's fog, Cobalian's steel horn piercing oppression, Terrakian's rocky resolve toppling barricades, Virizian's verdant blades slicing injustice, Keldeo completing the quartet with heroic purity. They rise where human expansion raises Pokémon habitats. Their 580 base stats a testament to unyielding defense. Gala's darkest day scars the earth 3,000 years deep. Eternatus's infinite energy vortex spawning rampaging Dynamax giants, skies bleeding crimson. Zacian and Zamazenta, wolfish blades and shields, crown themselves in rusted relics to fell the invader, scattering Dynamax particles like divine aftershocks. Heroes turn kings, legends to stone in slumbering wield's thorns, awaiting the next disturbance. Kitakami's shadowed moors replay the tragedy, Ogrepon's masks channeling bog, wellsprings, hearth and cornerstones, stolen by the loyal three, Okidogi's Pecha poisoned fists, Munkidori's toxic cunning, Fezandipiti's feathered malice. Empowered by cursed chains under a false leader's sway, they twist heroism into villainy, exiling the true protector. Ogreppon's fearful roars echo folktales of Momotaro, where betrayal festers until truth unmasks the cycle anew. Arceus threads it all, The original one wielding plates like keys to every domain, judgment summoning spectral forces, multitype shifting to mimic beasts, birds, gods. Almighty Sinnoh to the Celestica, it births trios, duos, quartets, yet bows to no throne, enforcing the grand design. These threads, balance teetering on cataclysm's edge, human hands igniting ancient slumbers, nature's inexorable order reasserting through fury and grace, repeat across eras. Why do new legendary groups manifest as humanity's reach stretches further? Because the world breathes with us. Our cities sprawl into wilds. Our machines probe dimensional rifts. Our greed awakens what slumbers. Each expansion disrupts the weave, summoning guardians tailored to the breach. Birds for fledgling flames, beasts for burned towers, weather titans for flooded coasts, swords for razed homes. They're not relics. They're responses, the planet's immune surge against our fever. As you drift into sleep with this lore tonight, let the enduring mystery settle like mist over Sinnoh's lakes. The Pokémon world hides no final answers, only cycles that turn, legends that stir, and whispers promising more guardians on horizons yet unseen. Rest now, knowing the eternal watch endures. What did you think of this journey? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this changed your perspective or taught you something new, consider subscribing for more mind-expanding content. And if you know someone who would find this as fascinating as you did, share it with them. These are the kind of conversations that matter.